our interaction last time. I don't know if you saw that. I watched it back because I had a suspicion. But I was sorting out my blinds. The
Oh,
stream
that was
literally
funny.
it literally starts with me being like, "Oh, I'm so pale." I was, so it's true.
Mate, I actually
How are
clipped
you?
that. So I've clipped it and not posted it yet. For some reason, I clipped it and then was like, I'll post it tomorrow. And never posted it. But I've actually got a really nice 10-second clip of you going, "Oh yeah, I look so pale," like that, and then it goes, and then camera comes on. So that was the intro to last week's Scoutcast match day, and this week similar. So thank you guys all for joining. Loads of you are with us. Come and ask your questions. Watch the United Brighton game with us. Let us know your predictions for the game. I think we might get a few goals today. If you remember, I don't know if you remember, Seb, early on in the season, Brighton versus Man United at the Amex. I can't remember the score, but I know United got a late winner or a late equaliser from a penalty, I think, that was Fergie time, proper Fergie time. And I think Trossard and maybe one or two others hit the woodwork for Brighton. They were all over him.
It wasn't the Bruno one, was it? Let's have a look. Was it the Bruno 95th minute penalty?
That rings. I think it may have been. I mean, if it was a pen, it would have been the Bruno. It would have been Bruno, and it was definitely one where 4 minutes of added time were given, and it was in the 95th minute or something like that. And we were like, "How have they done this?" And it was a game which Brighton just flooded them. And
Okay, so on the 26th of September, I have Brighton 2, Man United 3.
yeah.
We have Bruno Fernandes scoring a penalty in 90 plus 10.
Oh wow.
It was that one where the final whistle went. So after he'd scored it, just the final whistle went. I think we may have had a VAR check for a little while. That rings some bells.
Yeah. So off the back of that game week, I bought in Trossard because he had looked so good. And I love bringing in players that nearly score so many points and don't. So it's just like not everyone's looking at them because they didn't get the points. And he'd hit the woodwork loads. And I did a Twitter post saying, shall I bring in Trossard or Grealish? And it was like 58% said Grealish. I went with Trossard. And yeah, the rest is history. My bad season continued, and Grealish went like that. Trossard went like that, and I kept with him for way too long. But yeah, he's back, Trossard. He looked good last time out, didn't he?
Hey, it should have held him for another 20 weeks. It would finally have come good. Although was it a couple weeks ago when it was, captain him or Kane or Lingard, and he did come good, although I would argue maybe fortunately so.
Yeah.
But in terms of fantasy aside, I think he's a brilliant player, playing well, integral to how Brighton are going forward. So I guess if you're picking him, you're maybe going, even if the numbers are there or not, I like the way he's playing. I like how he's central to what they're doing. So if I think they're going to do well, I think he may be involved. That's pretty reasonable.
Yeah, and he seems to be playing centrally in the number 10 role. We have seen him out wide. We have seen him in a front two. We've even seen him as sort of false 9E-ish. But yeah, it's Maupay and Welbeck with Trossard in the hole as it was last time out. So yeah, interesting lineup. Wing backs are Pascal Gross and Moda, who played well for Poland the other day. So it's a fairly attacking lineup. We have seen the likes of Veltman playing wing back. He's now at left centre back today. Strong lineup for United. They've gone with Fred and Pogba in the middle rather than Fred and McTominay or Fred and Matic. And then Martial is out, but that does mean Cavani, Rashford and Greenwood all start, and then it's usual suspects at the back. Henderson, by the way, is your goalkeeper for United today. Loads in the chat are with us. Ezzo's with us. Louis says the boys are here. Good to see you, Louis. Nuclear Atoms is with us. And it is just me and Seb today. No Toby. He'll be back next week, I think. Nuclear Atom says, where's my reality check guy, Toby? Yeah, he'll be with us. He's out and about today. He's seeing his brother's new house.
Where's the one with a good rank?
Yeah. Cavani to score, says Nashin. Interesting. Nice. I mean, Bruno 95th winner has been predicted. Frode reckons it's going to be Man United 2, Brighton 3. Oh, I've just seen it's Mike Dean refereeing. That's going to be fun.
Ooh,
maybe
penalty for Bruno Fernandes, anyone?
Yeah. I think I heard Mike Dean hits 52, I can't remember what it is this summer, and usually when there was an age on referees retiring, that would be the retirement age, but that rule has been and gone and isn't a thing anymore. So there's a good chance Mike Dean will continue refereeing. I don't know when they got rid of that rule, but I heard, yeah.
I didn't know that was a rule. 52 seems
maybe it was only,
maybe
it's not been a rule in England. I don't know. I know it was a rule in Italy because I remember Pierluigi Collina hitting whatever the age was. Maybe it was 50. And Collina stepping away and getting loads of offers from other leagues going, Collina, you're the best in the world. You can't referee in Serie A because there's a stupid rule there. Come and referee in our league.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. And I don't think he did. I think he just did some Vauxhall adverts and cashed in,
I mean, you would at that point. Yeah, he'd become that icon.
Yeah.
And I don't know how well referees are paid now. Probably all right, but not quite the same as players. I'd imagine a few years ago, less so. I'd imagine they weren't fully professional for a while. So yeah, if you've become a bit of an icon, you've got that brand and you can make some money from it, why wouldn't you? You know, you've got to feed yourself, feed your family.
Yeah, exactly that. And there's not many with celebrity status like Kalina. Shanoizi says, "Hi Gianni and Seb, my bold move to captain Alonso this week didn't work out. You were unlucky, mate. He hit the post twice. And of course, he had the -2 for conceded 4 goals. We didn't expect that. But he was heavily involved. And yeah, I don't know, if you had Kane, maybe it wasn't the best call. Maybe there was a more obvious shout. But if you didn't have Kane, then I can see why you went Alonso."
Yeah, I know a lot. I think I asked on Twitter. I've ignored football for a couple of weeks now, like some people have done with the international break. Came back to see a lot of people bringing in Alonso, some captaining clearly. And I did ask why people were going that route. It seems like a lot of people that 1 week punt before a wild card, which makes complete sense. And a few minutes into that match, it probably looked very good. And then I think something you couldn't predict happened. Sure, the red card, but also West Brom, hey, they looked great. But I think they scored all of those goals from less than 2 XG, and they were great finishes.
Yeah,
it's just one of those where they're on form that day, if that's a thing. They're hitting their strikes true, and they went in. And Alonso, like you say, he hit the post, although he did get an assist from that.
Yeah,
but he went close a couple of other times, didn't he? So swing between 3, 4, 5 points and 12, 15 points there.
Yeah, exactly. I also bought in Alonso, and I don't have a wild card. And I was very conscious that by bringing him in, I know he's a rotation risk, but I just feel like he'll play 3 of the next 4 Premier League games as well. It was 4 in 5 at the time I said it, and therefore I think it's a punt worth taking. Also, Rudiger, by the way, who was one of the safe bets at the back, has had a big fallout with Kepa at the training ground, and apparently was asked to leave the training ground, which is why you didn't start yesterday. I read that about an hour ago. Think it was a legit source. But obviously, Rudiger had a lot of minutes for Germany as well. But that will be interesting to watch. Zuma had a nightmare, so playing in the Rudiger role. So I do think Rudiger should be coming back. But yeah, we've got Louis in the chat saying he's captain Bruno today. Seb, Bruno's effective ownership is over 100% today. I'm really surprised by that because of so many captaining Kane. So if you haven't captained Bruno but you own him, you don't actually want returns today, which isn't always the nicest watch. Or do you disagree with that?
I mean, I guess in theory it's hard to disagree with it, but it's always one of those. If I own a player, of course I want points. Sure, other people might get more points or what have you, but it's a squad game. I picked a player to get points. Otherwise, I may as well not pick him if I'm just trying to match other people.
Yeah.
So yeah, if I'm going to get points from Bruno, but I've captained Kane and I've already got 2 goals from Kane, I'll have some more points from Bruno. I mean, I don't have Bruno, but that's one that I think you can spend a bit too much time on.
Speak of the devil, Bruno has a shot from range over the bar. Seb, I don't know what minute you're on. I'm on 3:29, 3:30 as Bruno shoots from 20 yards.
I currently am not. I'm trying to get mine set up. I'm having a few little problems here, but I will provide colour to your beautiful commentary.
Love that. If not, you can always rely on live text. So guys, if you do want to sync, I'm 3:47, 48, 49, 50 as Sanchez takes the long-range kick, goal kick. We've had Captain Kane. 0-0 wants Gio boys. Interesting. What's your prediction, Seb? I actually think this could be a score draw today. I'm seeing a sort of 1-1 I think.
I think that's reasonable. I mean, we've seen Brighton put in decent numbers all season and possibly do a bit better against those numbers recently, actually perform some returns. Yeah. But we know their strikers aren't quite converting how you'd want, and their defence somehow does seem to manage to concede quite often. Yeah. Did a decent enough, possibly overperform their stats a little bit. I think it's at Old Trafford, which is always going to help, even in these times when there's no crowd. So if you had to pick a favourite, I think it's Man United, but score draw sounds reasonable to me. 2 relatively tight teams. Brighton might go at it a bit more than others, so give you 2-2 maybe.
Basuma has been down for a minute. Brighton kicked the ball out because they know Basuma doesn't stay down and he's in pain. He's screaming. The physios are on and I'm just seeing the challenge. It's Cavani sort of shoulder barge, goes down. I think maybe he puts his hand or his arm out and he falls and maybe dislocates a finger or so. I think the physio's holding his hand and he's sort of screaming, covering his face with the other hand. And I just wonder if, it might be a finger, which might just be able to be clicked back in, but he's not happy.
Oh, that's nasty. I like how you say, just pop it back in, get on with it. It's fine. Yeah, maybe one of those you can strap up. But did he fall straight on it then?
I didn't. So I saw the replay, and we didn't actually. The camera's on his body, so you see him put an arm out, but you don't see what happens with his hand. But yeah, I mean, the physios are definitely doing stuff with his hand, or it could be his wrist, which would be perhaps more serious. So yeah, that wouldn't be great for Brighton because obviously Basuma in the middle, he's the engine room of that midfield and been really impressive this season.
He's very, very important. I think you could see, no discredit to Brighton, but you could see him moving upwards to another team.
Yeah.
He brings a lot to them, especially in the way they play with the three at the back and the transition. He does a bit at both ends and is capable of carrying that ball through the middle. So yeah, after just shouting 2-2, if they were to lose him, I think that would push it towards Man United for me.
Yeah, I'd be with you. He's going off, but I think he'll come back on. I think he's just going off to come on. He's actually holding sort of the lower part of his arm. So it's kind of wrist to elbow somewhere in there. Yeah, good. I'm glad he's going to be all right. Would you be surprised if Basuma went to a bigger club? I think he's been linked with Arsenal in the last transfer window or two. They've since gone and bought Thomas, so yeah, perhaps not Arsenal, but an Arsenal type club. That's sort of, I don't know, a top half team. I was going to say a top 4-6 team, but let's go with current Arsenal, top 10.
I think that's reasonable. Arsenal's a decent shout, like you say. They've gone and got Thomas. Whether they hold on to Odegaard, obviously not the same position, but that's numbers in a squad, where you can fill those midfield positions. I wonder if, Spurs and Ndombele and that sort of role sorted. And Everton, we sorted their midfield in the summer, of course. Maybe if Leicester lose a couple of players from there, there's a hole for him.
If West Ham lose Declan Rice,
that's a good shout.
I could see him there. Obviously, I think Noble's retiring. Is Noble retiring or leaving West Ham this summer? He's stepping away from the club, but obviously Noble's not a starter anyway. But Basuma and Souček would also be a decent midfield. You might lose a bit of Rice's dynamism, but yeah. I've had chat about Louis asking about game week 32. Louis, we're going to talk about game week 32 at half time. So we'll come to that and we'll talk about a bit of wildcard chat in 32 as well, at half time as well. Leeds are a team with which I can trust. Just reading the chat. Okay, there's been a bit of action. Just I'm on 740, 741.
Talk us through it then.
So the free kick's taken short from Bruno. It goes back to him, edge of the box, whips it in, clearance from Dunk, half volley, Greenwood, hits the post. Greenwood half volley post from about 12 yards out on the angle. Would Sanchez have had it covered? It was the near post. Sanchez dives. It would have been interesting. Maybe not. But yeah, good hit from Greenwood, who's playing the right of a front three. Ball comes in from Greenwood again. Lewis Dunk clears most things in that box and he wins the header again. I really love Lewis Dunk. He gets his head on everything. And the chance from Greenwood came from a Dunk knockdown. Obviously didn't clear it far enough, but he did well to get as much on it as he did. But yeah, good start.
Would you have Lewis Dunk near the England side?
When I did my England 11 about sort of 3 months ago, when it was like we perhaps all weren't posting England 11s, but I did it early, I put Dunk in there. And I put him in there because I just thought he was best of the rest. It wasn't like I was thinking, shoe-in. But I would love to see him called up more. And I think because he's a leader and a captain, I think that presence in the back line would be great to have in the squad. A bit like the same reason why Cody's there, why Cody's in the squad. Yeah. Perhaps over a Michael Keane or a Tarkowski. I think it's his leadership qualities.
That's fair.
And I think Dunk's the same.
It's worth considering, Harry Maguire's probably nailed on. Whether you think he should be or not, Southgate's probably going to pick him. Yeah. So I think it's worth considering his partner. And we think it's probably going to be that three at the back, or at least three at the back, some of the time, especially when we're playing harder teams in the tournament. Yeah. Kyle Walker filling that right centre-back role. So I think it's someone who needs to be able to cover that back three / back four. I know John Stones is probably my favourite at the moment.
And John Stones for his passing, and we know Southgate does want to play out from the back. So I do think it will be Maguire and Stones in a 2 or with Walker when they go for a 3. But I just feel like Dunk hasn't had much opportunity, and he's about 28, 29 now, so he's probably missed the boat. But I just think he's a very good Premier League centre-back. But then I do look back at the time Ryan Shawcross was called up to the England team, and everyone was saying, give Shawcross a chance, like I am with Dunk. He's doing amazing things at Stoke, clean sheet every week under Tony Pulis. Debut for England, Zlatan Ibrahimovic pretty much retired him that night. It was away in maybe Gothenburg, and Ibrahimovic scored the overhead kick from like 30 yards, which was from a clearance.
Oh, that one! That was ridiculous. But that's almost not fair. Is Zlatan's going to do that? I'm not sure Virgil van Dijk is stopping that one.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that night I remember he gave Shawcross a torrid time, and I think maybe Zlatan maybe even got a brace or a hat trick. So off the back of that, I don't think Shawcross was ever called up again. I think that might even be a one cap wonder, and that was his cap. So it just goes to show, And yeah, it was Latan. It's very different, but sometimes there is a big gap between Premier League and international.
And that's the thing with international football. And hey, I'll be the first to admit I don't find international football as attractive, at least outside of tournaments, as I do domestic football.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting one because you put a team together for a tournament, or even just a week or two of matches that don't usually play together, even if some of them do. And I often feel like weird tear between, am I trying to build a team for X tournament? We see it a lot in rugby with the cycles that come around. You're building a team for 4 years' time. And so you don't necessarily pick the best players. You pick a team that are going to develop into the team you want for the tournament.
Yeah.
Sometimes we see that in football. And then sometimes we see people picked based on form who might not even be the right age for the tournament anymore. And I feel like we're always caught between the two. And I don't know if there's a right answer, because you've got to qualify for that tournament and then you want a team that is suitable for the tournament. All the while, you've got form coming and going and people pressuring into picking certain players.
Yeah, really interesting one. And I love the comparison with, especially rugby, building on a 4-year cycle to a Rugby World Cup is massively a thing. Perhaps we don't see it as much in football. And maybe in rugby squads, you get slightly less variation in that 4 years. The same players are called up. Football goes quite heavily on form and is dependent on certain players doing well at their teams. Yet club rugby is kind of like, we know that guy, he might be playing for Bath, who are bottom of the league, but he's an England player all day long, so he gets in every squad.
And obviously the big difference with rugby and football is, you get players that, are effectively saved for England in certain times. With Six Nations, you go off and play for England and whatnot. Being an England player is almost more like being part of a bigger club than, obviously you're contracted to, than just playing for a football club where you go and play for England, kind of almost like a...
Oh, action.
Welbeck!
Oh, come on. Sorry, Seb. Cross came in out of nowhere, and I sort of had my eyes on it as I was listening to what was a really interesting chat, because I love the rugby football chat. And I don't know who the cross comes in on the right. Probably Pascal Gross, because he was very wide. And Welbeck heads it. Henderson makes quite a good save, but only parries it straight back to Welbeck like that. Welbeck then has a tap in. Going to see the replay now. Trossard has it in the middle. He plays it out wide to, looks like maybe Ben White out to Gross. I think it's Gross, or it might be Morpie. And it's a great header down. Good save. It is Morpie out wide with the cross. Welbeck does what he should do. Oh, someone in the chat said disallowed. Hello,
really?
A sec. Maybe it's going to go to VAR. I can't see where that will be an issue, but he's not.
You're so far ahead of me. I've not got it yet, but I've got Luke Shaw, so I wouldn't mind it being disallowed.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of Shaw owners. I don't see how that could be disallowed unless Morpie was offside. There was nothing wrong with the header.
No, like in line of goalkeeper or anything like that. Offside.
Oh, hang on a sec. Someone's trying to be funny. No, it's a goal. They've kicked off.
Oh, okay.
If they've kicked off, they can't go back and VAR it, can they? So no.
You wouldn't think so. Okay, fair enough. What minute are you on, Gianni?
Oh, I'm 13:45.
Okay, so I'm a full minute and a half behind you.
So have you seen the goal?
I've got it coming in now with a cross from the right. Yeah, I mean, Welbeck heads it down into Henderson, who popped it straight back up to Welbeck, who then heads it in. So interesting to see if we'll get an assist on that. But as far as I can see, it looks absolutely fine. And if you say off, yeah.
I don't think I've not checked. I don't think we get an assist for that because it's a save. It's a parry. Yeah. It can't be.
It's one of those.
It's an Opta assist.
Well, I mean, no, it wouldn't know the opposite. So
would Opta give Morpie the assist for that?
No. Fantasy is more generous on assists. So like shot rebounds and stuff aren't assists in real
fair
football, if you like. I mean, the intention there is to create a chance and assist a goal, but Welbeck has missed that chance. He scored what came back off Henderson, so I can't imagine that's going to be an assist.
Shani Rasool in the chat saying, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put VAR. It was his notifications from somewhere else." Shani, we're gonna let you off. Usually I'd be kicking this person out, but actually you said live score tricked me. I'll go with that. It's a good stuff. You're here. He says he's here every week. I promise I'm not that guy trolling. My bad. Fair enough, mate. And if you're here every week, definitely you can stay. Thank you for always coming back to us, guys. In the chat, Owen saying apparently Rudiger and Kepa had a bust up in training today. That's what I read, Owen. Madeline saying, is Seb Lloris's twin? I love that. We've had that a few times, haven't we?
We have. Like, we've had it to the point where, like, I don't know if I agree, but we've had it to the point where, if enough people say something, it doesn't mean they're right, but it certainly heightens the chances,
Yeah, I can see it. I really can.
Fair enough. He's not too bad looking. I guess I'll take it.
I think you take that, and I think when you've got the beard in full flow, you've got the Hugo look. Okay, so 1-0 against probably just against a run of play, but now Brighton have scored. They look pretty comfortable. This would be great for the top four race if Brighton win today.
What do you think Brighton are getting in the top 4?
I just can't. Chelsea dropping points, Spurs dropping points, Leicester dropping points. If United drop points as well, West Ham are thinking maybe we've got a chance. Could you see West Ham having a late run for the top 4, Seb?
Just looking at it here, so we've got Man City obviously clearing away. There's no problems there. United, Leicester, Chelsea, Spurs. So United and Leicester would feel good about that position. They're 4 or 5 points clear of 5th. But then we saw what happened to Leicester at the end of last season. And then it's Tottenham, Liverpool, West Ham, even Everton at a push. I'd say Villa are well out of that now. West Ham, I was looking at their fixtures the other day when looking at a wildcard draft, and their fixtures are decent. There's a couple of tough ones in there, but especially off the top of my head, they might have, Chelsea in 34, and then a pretty decent end to the season. So if they can turn those good fixtures into results, I would say so. Liverpool have got the best fixtures in the league.
Yeah.
So and are looking maybe slightly more like their old selves. So you'd see them climbing. So what are we looking at? Maybe a Leicester, a Chelsea, or a Tottenham to drop away. Man United possibly just enough of a cushion. Yeah. It's going to be an interesting finish. And I guess we've probably got to consider that United and Chelsea are going to have extra fixtures with Champions League and Europa League, whilst Leicester, they're out of the Europa. West Ham, they're not in any cup competitions, I don't think. So Everton have got 2 games in hand, by the way. And again, if they win those games, they're in the top 4. But it's Everton, so maybe possibly not. Marcus Johansson in the chat said Zlatan scored 4 goals in a 4-2 win. Marcus, I'm guessing with your surname as Johansson, you're Swedish, and therefore you remember that game very well. So 4-2 England won, and yeah, that was definitely the Shawcross game. So love that. Oh, we've had another chance by the looks of it. Just seeing now, it's Pascal Gross who's going to take the free kick. The possession, by the way, is 52% Brighton, 48 United. I'm guessing this chance is going to come from a header, knowing there's a ball. It's going to be a free kick from a wide area. Ball comes in and his delivery is always so good, Gross. Oh, it's Lewis Dunk. Hits the bar. Or does that go out for a corner? Was it a save? Possibly hit the bar. He gets the jump on, I think, Wan-Bissaka. Just seeing it come in. He's onside. Gets up well. Oh, he gets the jump on Wan-Bissaka there. And yeah, hits the bar. At this moment, you've got to hammer this home. You mentioned they'd had more of possession. I'd say one of the things that stands out about Man United is not a lack of a midfield, but a lack of a midfield that really controls a game. They seem to go from defence to attack, and it's basically just Luke Shaw trying to progress the ball in the middle. Whereas everyone else is either trying to score or trying to defend. So if Brighton in their 3-5-2 are able to actually dominate that middle, I could see them controlling the game, especially with a goal lead.
Yeah, it's interesting Pogba playing in that holding or that midfield too, because in the last few months when he's played for United, when he's been fit, he's actually been playing in the 3 behind the striker, often wide left, and we've seen him playing wide left and Rashford wide right, and we know Rashford doesn't want to play there, but Pogba's done really well in that kind of 3 behind the 9. Where's his best position? I think his best position in a 4-3-3 in midfield 3, which United don't play, but in this system, in a 4-2-3-1, where's his best position? Is it number 10? But then where does Bruno play?
Yeah, that's the thing. You say this system. I would say probably Pogba's best form we've seen of his career is that Met Salah Juve. Yeah, the sort of like you say 4-3-3. Yeah, he was just left of it, wasn't he?
He had Pirlo in there with him, and then he had I think it was Marquisio the other side.
Yes, and maps were so specific.
Yeah.
They were so. Oh yeah, was that later after?
No, it wasn't. Marquisio was actually usually a sub. It was Vidal, Pirlo, and Pogba were the 3. Yeah.
Fair. But yeah, his heat maps were so specific. They were like just the left channel.
Yeah.
And drifting a lot wide, drifting up, and coming deep to get the ball a bit. But he hardly ever went central or to the right hand side of the pitch.
Yeah.
And I think, of course, he's capable of more than just that. But if that's why Man United signed him. And then we saw, early on, really failed to recreate him being able to do that role, playing him deep, playing at 10. I wonder if to get the most out of him, you really need to put him in that position where he can shine, especially with Bruno, who Bruno can play deep, has done it for Sporting, but we know he excels at 10. I wonder if him and Pogba just haven't quite found a system that works for both of them.
Yeah, and there has been a lot of comparisons this season of Bruno's points with and without Pogba on the pitch, and he does seem to get greater FPL points when Pogba's not there, knowing both want to pick up similar spaces. But yeah, Pogba to the left of a three, for me, is definitely the one. We've seen him at Juve, and we've also seen him play there for France. I'm trying to think back to France's formation in the World Cup final against Croatia, and I think it was probably a 4-3-3 with Pogba playing in that same role. It was Giroud as the 9, Griezmann and Mbappe would have been either side, but inside forwards.
Pogba played quite deep during that tournament.
He had Matuidi and Kante, and Pogba, I think, would have been the 3, no?
That sounds... Oh, well, let's have a look. I don't want to guess, but
yeah,
I vaguely recall Pogba doing what he was meant to be doing for United that everyone was criticising him for, doing it for France and doing it well, which suggests maybe it's not Pogba that's the issue. And if you look at Pogba's abilities, like he should and could be a completely dominant deep-lying playmaker, just sitting in there, controlling the ball, winning the ball, using his technical abilities and his positional ability to completely dominate the midfield.
Yeah.
I just wonder if it's what's asked of him and what's around him don't quite marry up to allow him to shine.
Yeah, and you see him in a midfield with Pirlo and Vidal or Kante and Matuidi. Well, yeah, anyone is going to play better when they're with those guys. With no disrespect to the likes of an ageing Matic, young inexperienced McTominay, or overpriced Fred, these players aren't of that calibre. They are not Pirlo, Vidal, and that's certainly not Kante and Matuidi. And by the way, Kante made Danny Drinkwater look Premier League's best. So
I mean, I haven't managed to find it yet, so I'm going to guess again. But Kante being like an anchor is a bit of a misnomer. He really is very much a ball winner. He runs all over the place, as we've seen, and is brilliant with that, both physically and tactically. But he does not sit. Matuidi as well is, we've seen for Juve, right, can be pretty box to box. He's actually pretty good going forward. Yeah. So if I recall, Pogba really was asked to sit in that tournament, I believe.
Possibly, yeah.
Happy to be corrected if I'm wrong, but I'm trying to make some assumptions there as well.
Okay, Mohamed's saying they played a 4-2-3-1. Matuidi, Pogba, Kante, double pivot. Okay. But Matuidi and Kante would have been the 2 in that if it was a 4-2-3-1.
Let's have a little look.
Let's check it out.
So we had, according to BBC, I've got a 4-4-2 for the World Cup final. I don't know if it lined up like that. Lloris, Pavard right back, Lucas Hernandez left back, Varane and Titi, Mbappe on the right, Pogba and Kante in the middle, Matuidi on the left, Griezmann and Giroud up front. Yeah. Now I recall
Matuidi was on the. I do remember seeing Matuidi in that left-hand channel a lot in that particular tournament.
Is it going to be one of those Griezmann, without a heat map here, is Griezmann going to have dropped into those channels into the 10 position? And Mbappe comes on. Giroud obviously does that, focal point up front. And then there's the ability for Kante to win the ball and shuttle and whatnot, and Pogba to sit and play. Yeah. Possibly. So a bit of a 4-4-2 come 4-2-3, 4-2-3-1 hybrid there.
Yeah. Interesting question from Shannon Russell. What combination is better, Pogba and Juve or Pirelli and Inter? I love that. So Pirelli and Inter are ending their long-term relo this summer, and I'm absolutely devastated about it. I think they continue with Nike Inter, but yeah, Pirelli is no longer. Which makes me think I just need to buy this season's shirt.
As if you don't have this season's shirt.
Look at that collection behind you. I do have this season's third kit, as you can see there. That's this season's third. But yeah, they've also changed their badge. So again, another reason to get it for the badge, which by the way has been changed not for the better. They've gone down a Volkswagen route, I think. So yeah, it's still 1-0 Brighton. There's been no big chances. We will of course let you know at every big chance. FPL Swede is with us. Hello mate, glad you can join us. So FPL Swede, you've missed it. We've been talking about Zlatan and the 4-2 win Sweden got over England when Zlatan scored all 4, including an overhead kick from 30 yards, and it literally retired debutant Ryan Shawcross in that game, who was, of course, the Stoke City centre-back. We were just having a good conversation about English centre-backs. Anyway, we won't go back over old ground. Seb, Man United haven't had a great response. We saw the goal, and then we saw a dunk crossbar. United have done very little so far.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm a little bit behind you, so if anything happens, you interrupt me and shout me, but... Yeah, I think, the fact we've been talking about other things and this hasn't particularly caught my eye. I'm seeing Brighton pushing, Man United trying to bring it out. I've got Pogba on the ball now. Again, maybe trying to play that role we see where he's trying to dictate it. But there doesn't seem to be much beyond that. Like we were saying, the midfield of Man United is is possibly either not good enough or not doing the job you'd want them to do. They've got good attackers, a decent defense, but there's been nothing. And Brighton are strolling through it quite easily and turning it over quite easily.
Yeah. Oh, Brighton, no, at least nothing. Welbeck involved again. I just wonder, we were talking about obviously Pogba in his best position. I think it's quite clear, whatever his best position is, playing in a midfield 3 is definitely going to be the one. He's done it at France, he's done it at Juve. Playing in midfield 2, he can be found out defensively, perhaps doesn't have enough runners around him or ball winners around him. Is he good enough for a manager to go, let's change the system to suit our best player, Pogba? Well, it's quite a difficult conversation, that, because our best player is Bruno, and currently the 4-2-3-1 probably suits him more than anyone. And if you played a 4-3-3, where does Bruno play?
I guess, allow me to avoid giving you a definitive answer so I get off the hook later. But I guess there's a difference between position and role, right? Position, centre mid, DM, whatever. But then you can ask him to do another different on that side. It needs to complement the rest of the team, especially Bruno Fernandes. But anyone who thinks Pogba isn't good enough to perform a number of roles, whether that be the primary or secondary position in midfield, I think maybe is kidding themselves. He's an excellent player. Sure, we've had the criticism of work rate haircuts, nonsense. I think it comes down to how he's managed. And I don't mean, whether Solskjaer tells him he's a good boy or whatever. I think it's just how you use him and his talents, and whether there's a conflict between our expectations of him and what he's asked to do and what he's actually best at.
Yeah.
And maybe there is a problem with Bruno there, but I'd be very surprised if players of that quality, the old Jared Lampard problem, so maybe it is a thing, couldn't play together given the right system.
Yeah.
If you compare him to, say, Kevin De Bruyne, probably the best midfielder in the league.
Yeah.
He's been playing number 9, number 10, right of a midfield.
Yeah.
He played that quarterback position a couple of seasons ago. And, okay, ignore FPL. In real football, he's excelled in every one of those roles. I'm pretty sure Pogba could do very similar, provided the team was correct around him. So I think it's a bigger issue than just, is Pogba good enough or is he good in a certain role?
Yeah. Just seeing, we'll come back to that. Henderson comes for a corner, a very simple catch. Really easy catch, and he fluffs it, and it comes off Maguire, and then he fobbles it. But there's very little pressure on him, and it's not going to do his confidence well, that, because that's the second time he's flapped it across, and he's not the best goalkeeper with crosses. He's a very good shot stopper, but I do wonder if that's a weakness that perhaps Brighton are looking to target. The corners are coming in right under him.
Would you make him your England number 1? You've got Pickford and Pope, really, or Henderson?
Pope all day long for me. And I know Pope's not the best with his feet, but he's consistent with his shot stopping, and he's very consistent under the high ball. Ooh. And they're 2 things I'll be looking for. Yeah,
I've just seen that. I don't think he's under too much pressure. He almost just palms it. He just fumbles it, doesn't he? It comes at a nice height. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Hey, that can happen to the best of us, but if it happens consistently, that's not what you need from a goalkeeper. The most important thing in a goalkeeper, beyond making decent saves, is that confidence. The defense don't need to turn around and worry, right? Someone's there who's going to bail you out. Yeah, exactly. Going back to Pogba, there's a few saying best position bench, Sanjay. You've also said Sanjay reminds me a bit of needs an arm around a shoulder, but should you have to? Well, possibly. I personally, I'm with Seb. I think he's an absolutely phenomenal footballer, and I don't know if I still look at Pogba with sort of rose-tinted glasses, because he was sensational at Juve. There's a reason he went for the fee he went for, and fair play, because he went to Juve because he couldn't get in the United first team under Fergie, and they said, we'll give you a decent contract, come and play in Italy, play alongside Pirlo, and we'll give you a run out. And he did, and he smashed it, and he got straight in the France team. He's just such a talented footballer. But the team isn't necessarily built for him to do well in this system. But likewise, we can't forget he's had a load of injury problems. He's had different managers, didn't get on with Mourinho. So, he still goes off on international football and wins France a World Cup. Yes, more than Pogba won France a World Cup, but he was still instrumental in that team. So he can still deliver, but I can't actually see him at United long term. I do think he'll leave, and I hope he does well. What do you reckon, Seb? Where could you see him? PSG. Yeah, I think he fits. With Poch now there, of course, maybe things have changed, systems or whatever, but I assume Poch doesn't make the signings. He may be consulted, but there's higher powers there that make the signings. He's the right name. He's the right profile. Big fish, small pond. Have the money for it, exactly, and he could really excel. We've seen Verratti do very well there. He's more advanced under Poch. But someone like a Verratti next to a Pogba with someone else in midfield. There's at the moment a few others.
Yeah,
that could really work. I think he could be very.
Yeah, they signed the Everton. Who they signed from Everton? The holding mid, who's brilliant.
Just a guy.
Just a guy who I don't know if he's been playing massively under Poch, but before Poch he was playing a lot. Tuchel liked him a lot, and he was brilliant. He looked like Kante 2.0 a year ago.
Yeah, that's reasonable. He could probably do the Kante role. So if you could almost try and recreate that Pogba with the ball winner, and then a Verratti who is very happy to sit and recycle and can do about 3 different roles, maybe that does allow Pogba to shine but also not be, he could be the creative one, but not the number 10. He could do it from that midfield 3 that he wants to do. You've got Neymar and Mbappe there. We'd expect probably for another season too. I think that could really work. Not saying he'll go this summer. I don't think he does this summer, but long term, I think that works, that partnership.
Yeah. Brighton on the attack here doesn't look like it's going to lead to a great deal, but they're so comfortable in possession, Brighton, doing really well, passing the ball around nicely. It's Cavani's actually in now. There's a 2-on-1. He sees Rashford. Oh, he just overhits it. 2-on-1. If Cavani's pass is better, Rashford's in for a 1-on-1. That was a poor pass, actually. Do you expect better from Cavani? He's usually sort of fairly composed in that area. But yeah, I feel like, Seb, we'll get off Pogba chat, but I feel like PSG, did they play Lille today and lose? Did I see that earlier on Twitter? I think, so Lille... There's the title race in France is fascinating. It's Lille, Lyon, and PSG are all like a few points within each other. And I think Lille may have played PSG and gone above them. If they won, they were going to go above them.
Yeah, so Lille are currently first. Lille beat PSG 1-0. We have, off the top of my head, it'll be Lille, PSG, and Essence if I can find it. So yeah, Lille on 66, PSG on 63, Monaco on 62. Got Lyon on there on 61 as well.
Monaco,
and then everyone else is well back. So yeah, more interesting title races in a farmers league where it's only PSG, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous. I can't. Thank God Toby's not here. But yeah, interesting. If Poch goes to PSG and doesn't win the league in his first season, he'll get criticised, and that's probably not necessarily fair. And if they have a good run in the Champions League, then it doesn't matter too much. But yeah, I can't remember the last time PSG didn't win Liga. It's probably been. I
think he gets this season. He came in, was it just after Christmas? I know he came in just before one of their cup rounds.
Yeah, his first game was
called everyone back, didn't he?
His first game was a cup final, I think.
Yeah, that was it. Everyone back days early because they'd all been told like they could come back the night before, and he was like, "What is this?" But I think as long as nothing too embarrassing happens, and they probably should win the league.
Yeah,
I think he at least gets a preseason because we know with Pochettino, right, the way he is going to coach that team is he needs a summer, not for signings, but to embed the way he wants to play and the fitness that the players need to play that style. Yeah. So I think if you sign Poch and don't give him a summer, you probably shouldn't have signed Poch.
Yeah. We've had questions about Jota. We'll get to that at half-time because at half-time we're going to be talking about teams. Monaco 2017, I think, were the last team. Joe says they won. And I think, I do remember that Monaco team. But I think there was another Monaco team that was really good in the early sort of 2012-ish. I don't know. At half-time we'll talk about players like Jota. Players we're targeting, so stay with us for that because we're looking at if you're on a wild card, who you're going for, what players we like between now and the end of the season, and also game week 32. Of course, there is a double, which means there's also a blank in 33. There might also be a big double in 35. So just stay tuned to Fantasy Football Scouts Twitter for kind of updates on that. But there's talk there could be a decent double. So those that have got a free hit, perhaps you don't want to use it in 33 as I was originally going to do, and you're saving it for 35 instead. So Seb and I are both on the free hit, so we'll get thoughts on that as well. Rashford with the ball on the edge of the box finds Bruno, who just goes to play Shaw in, and Shaw is nowhere near it, and Bruno's sort of shouting at him going, "Where are you? You should be on the end of that." But yeah, different wavelengths there.
I'm a little bit behind you, but from what I've caught, Man United's passing is really poor here. Pogba, Wan-Bissaka, Bruno Fernandes even earlier on tried to do that classic, whip one into the box and just hit it straight at the goalkeeper. Yeah. I've just seen Pogba try and half volley one wide and just up in the air. I don't know if there's if there's a few players. I don't know if there's much of a cause beyond it just not quite clicking. But I don't even know if it's what Brighton are doing. Not to take anything away from them, but Man United not looking too hot here.
Yeah, and we know what we know about Brighton is they will always come and have a go. They will play football, and at the moment they actually look like they're playing the better football than United. They're very comfortable. They're almost going man for man, going, we'll put the ball down and play. And United obviously have had a team from the 11. I'm guessing I don't know, I'm guessing 9 of them have been on international duty and they haven't trained together for the last couple of weeks, whilst the Brighton squad predominantly would have been together for a fortnight. And maybe that's unfair. Maybe Brighton have got more internationals than I'm giving them credit for. But, the core of that team...
I mean, who's been away?
Moda for Poland played.
Yeah, Sanchez went away. Pascal Gross presumably did. Trossard did. Maybe
that's it, though. Welbeck, Morpine,
yeah.
no. Basuma.
Veltman
does start, doesn't he, often for Holland. But, yeah, Dunk doesn't go. Ben White doesn't go.
How much of an impact do you think that has? It's one of those... I feel like it's one of those that we always try and answer, and we sometimes assign either too much or too little cause to. I probably can't answer it without being a professional footballer and knowing what it's like going on international duty, flying, moving countries, especially in COVID times. I kind of don't know. Sometimes it feels like, oh, of course, terrible international duty. Another time, the team comes back, blows someone away, and you're like, well, international duty didn't hurt them.
Yeah. I think it's probably less on the players that are away, them coming back and not being ready. I think they're usually always ready. It's more on the teams that have had the bulk of their squad together and been able to do extra sessions on the training ground as a team, work on tactics against the team, work on, new set piece routines, just time on the training ground. This season hasn't been a thing, right? Teams like Brighton aren't used to playing twice a week, and they've had to do that a lot this season. They're used to always having 6 days between fixtures. So they've actually had that and then some for once this international break. So I do think, we saw West Brom against Chelsea yesterday. I know it was 10 men, but they had a lot of time together. I do think that makes a difference.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I'd be really interested to go away and have a look at, say, immediate results after an international break, especially relative to form before an international break. Of course, we'd expect better teams to win more often, but it'd be interesting to see if it made a significant difference. Like you say, I remember when Bielsa first joined us, he ended up using international breaks as, murder ball, obviously, but just another whole week to be able to bed tactics in. We've seen in the past teams like Leicester, teams like Liverpool in Klopp's early seasons, really being able to take advantage of having a full week between matches with no Champions League, where you can specifically work on the upcoming match that weekend, but also your style of play, your fitness. Yeah, you're right. I think that is quite a big advantage. You see someone like, say, Man City, who not even this season, but most seasons are playing Champions League, the Cups, and obviously the league. If you account for flying time and recovery time, they probably train a couple of times a week properly.
Yeah. And I guess you then look at it and go, okay, the teams that have got the squads, well, not just the squads, there's Man City, of course, have got the best squad in the league, but there's other teams that have got very good squads, but their squad men perhaps aren't trusted to come into the 11 and play. So Pep can come in and rotate the 11 and still get that really high performance, and he will trust them. Yet Klopp and Ollie probably aren't going to go, here, your squad men, you've played a lot recently, let's rotate. They just don't necessarily trust them, so you get players that are potentially getting overworked.
Which I think, we obviously Man City have spent a lot of money on some very good players, fair enough. But there is also a skill to squad building and squad management where you have built players, the old 2 for every position, if you like, but not just 2 for every position. You've got a team that can be chopped and changed and pick up without any fuss, the same system, play in the same way. We were talking about rugby earlier. If you're building a rugby team to play in a certain way, so it's more strict than football, of course, with the way you play. But if you're trying to achieve a certain thing, whether it's a kicking game or a rock and roll game, whatever it is, you need your bench players to come in and just pick that up without any problem. And I think it's too easy to go, well, of course, City are great. They've spent £50 million on every position. But when a player comes in, they just come in and do that role without any problem. And that's credit to Pep Guardiola and his coaching team.
Yeah. I mean, all you can say for City is they've had KDB out loads this season, well, quite a bit this season, but loads last season, and they're still winning things and still look amazing.
Aguero, they don't have a striker. Gabriel Jesus is fine. He's a perfectly acceptable striker. He's not the striker Man City would probably want for the next 15 years to win leagues and Champions Leagues. Yeah,
and arguably, he often plays wide anyway. I mean, well, when we saw at the weekend, Aguero down the middle, Jesus was wide. Gianni, please check with Seb, Koulibaly or Ben White? Are you asking which one he thinks is the better player? I mean, Seb's obviously a Ben White fan because of his Leeds link, but Koulibaly is probably top 5 centre-backs in world football? Or maybe that's unfair based on current... A year ago, if we're having this conversation, Koulibaly's top 5 in world football. But yeah, go on, Seb, what are your thoughts?
Just before Virgil van Dijk became Virgil van Dijk, when he was Southampton and looked absolutely brilliant, and his probably first 6 months at Liverpool before he really stepped up, Koulibaly was arguably the best centre-back in the world, especially when, the Napoli team, the title, it was phenomenally good. And I think Man United and Man has looked at him and possibly tried to get him.
Yeah.
He's not quite the level he was at the moment. He's still very, very good. I think he's probably missed out on that big move. Napoli are a perfectly brilliant team, but he's probably missed out on that Manchester move. So, I mean, obviously it's Koulibaly, but if Ben White comes back to Leeds, it's Ben White.
Love that. And Koulibaly is in a very decent Napoli squad still on paper, and they've partnered him in the last 12 months with Roma's Manolas, who also is amazing. So that centre-back partnership is so strong, but they're still quite leaky because, I don't know.
It's so good. It's one of those FIFA ones where, I mean, they're both quite good players on FIFA for a start, just for FIFA. But it was one of those ones, a bit like, when Everton built their midfield in the summer. Yeah. It was one of those where you've built the best centre-back partnership in the world. Like, Koulibaly is absolutely dominant and brilliant and very, very good with his feet. Manolas is ridiculously quick at covering, an intelligent player as well. Like, how could that be beaten? Yeah. And then the first few matches they played together, I think, did Manolas get sent off really early, and they were just a bit of a joke together. So one of those where you can't just buy good individuals and put them together, I guess. Yeah, and the Everton midfield is a great one because you look at that pre-season. Actually, they started the season really well, but Alan has obviously been injured a lot. But yeah, it's very similar to that. And there's talk that Koulibaly could be off. I mean, there's talk every transfer window, but there's talk that Everton are strongly in for him. And I just can't imagine they'd manage to attract him. But fair play if they do. And Ancelotti has obviously coached him. James Rodriguez.
Yeah, fair. Although
Alan was from Napoli, so I guess it's that Ancelotti thing, right?
Yeah, and they'll have the money because we know Everton often do.
You say the money though, isn't the price tag like 70 million or something? Or is that before COVID?
That was pre-COVID, but De Laurentiis isn't going to let his prized asset go cheap. So I don't know.
People say he's like the worst person to negotiate with outside of Daniel Levy.
Yeah,
and you look at the players they've sold, like Insigne, Koulibaly, still there. Yeah. Old now that was still there. Like, it is very hard to get a player off them.
Yeah, and Juve did it when they were desperate for Higuain, and they paid something ridiculous for a 30-year-old overweight Higuain. And I can't remember what they paid, but it was crazy money for his age. But interesting. And I think actually off the back of that move, Juve have said they won't deal with Laurentiis again. Like, they won't buy Napoli players. That's funny. There's talk, by the way, that Sarri will be going to Roma. I think I think Di Francesco's in a lot of trouble because they've lost a few games recently. They're still in the Europa League, but been losing Serie A. So we could see Sarri back in football, which is very exciting because I love Sarri ball.
He could make Pellegrini very good.
He could.
He is such a Sarri player.
Yeah, and Zaniolo. Because when he's back fit...
of course. I've got his double ACL.
Yeah. Double ACL within the space of... I think he came back from an ACL and within probably 6 weeks of first team football, maybe 12, another ACL. Shocking.
Ooh, I'll be a bit behind you here, so it's come to nothing. But I've got Man United going down the right with Wan-Bissaka with a good cross for once, dare I say. Greenwood turning into trouble. But the thing that really stood out to me there, a bit like Leeds, is the number of blue shirts from Brighton that immediately swarmed that. And then when they broke, I've now got, I think it's Trossard coming down the right. There was probably 7 or 8 Brighton players in the box, and now there are 6 or 7 outside Man United's box. That is, I mean, we know Graham Potter, that's how he likes to play, and he's done a good job with them. But that is probably Man United's weakness at the moment, a team that can, as a unit, really take them on.
Yeah, FPL Swede, Insigne, Mertens and Politano all to Everton for sure. Absolutely love that. Mertens isn't going anywhere. He is part of Napoli's furniture now. I think he may have just equalled their record goals in Serie A, joint Hamsik.
He turned down the old China or what have you move in the summer, didn't he? I think he signed a new contract, and Insigne will never leave. He's Mr. Napoli.
True. Yeah, he really is. United's XG, according to Louis, who is a very trusted source, I'm going with this, 0.16. That is low, Louis. But it doesn't surprise me from watching the game, and Brighton's will obviously be considerably high. And Brighton are in again here, but Maguire just gets a block off Maupay's toes, and Maupay was in there.
Brighton's will be, I guess, a little deceptively high because that chance
header
from Welbeck, he basically had the same chance twice, but if he'd scored the first one, the second one doesn't happen. So, to say they had, if say that to 0.5, it doesn't deserve a 1xg. It's a 0.5 chance that he missed.
Yeah, it should be given as 1 rather than 2, but it will.
I mean, those kind of things even out over time. But it's when we're looking at a single match, I guess context is important, right? The old eye test versus.
Yeah, Vic says, Gianni, but I'm going to ask you first, Seb. Do you think Alonso will play three of the next 4 Prem matches after yesterday's result? Will that change anything?
So I forget who it was on Twitter, so I'm sorry about that. But someone on Twitter.
Oh, so close, Seb. It was Moda from a corner again. Set piece threat has been big. The corner comes in and United just somehow don't clear it. And it's about 12 yards out. Moda on the half volley. Dean Henderson just watches it go past his post. And on target, it's a goal out for another corner. So maybe it took a deflection.
Again, just a bit behind you, but presumably the chance that, I think led to the corner, looking how that's been blocked. Brighton were nearly in there as well. They're slipping through the middle with, I think, Adam Lallana. Just got away from him with Harry Maguire. Oh, no, Harry Maguire just throwing it away.
Yeah.
Brighton looking active.
Yeah, really useful. What were you saying on Alonso and Chelsea, Seb? You saw something on Twitter, you said.
Yeah, so someone on Twitter pointed this out, not me. I forget who, so I'm so sorry about that. But this isn't my insight. They were plotting the fixtures when they expected Alonso to play, Chilwell to play.
Oh yeah,
and you'd expect
that may have been FPL Swede because he's done that recently.
Oh, quite possibly.
In the chat.
But was it? I think so. You'd expect him to play the Porto matches.
Yeah.
Which I think means Chilwell possibly gets the next one. But then beyond that, it looked like Alonso would probably get 3 of the 4. Up until I think it plotted it up until the end of the month, and they had Alonso playing 3 of the 4 in the league or something like that.
Interesting, because I have so Chilwell definitely plays against Man City in the FA Cup semi all day long. He'll play against Man City, and the Premier League fixtures of that either side I think will be Alonso. But I think against Porto we could see Chilwell. Firstly, they're not a very tall team. Yes, they'll be fairly deep, but I think Tuchel will approach with caution, and their best player, I mean, I haven't watched a huge amount of Porto, but Corona on the right is a threat, and I don't think he'll want Alonso slow on the turn up against a very quick accelerating Corona. I think he'll go Chilwell. Not saying Chilwell's the fastest, but he's better defensively by a country mile. So I think we could see Chilwell, and therefore we get Alonso for the Prem games. I really do, which would be great.
I mean, we'll talk about wildcards in the break, but I would. Despite, I think when we did our picks the other week, I was talking about not getting Alonso. Having looked at it a bit more, with the fixtures as well, if you only want a Chelsea player for, say, the next 4, I wonder if Alonso is worth the risk. Yeah.
I'd also add yesterday's result. You look at the centre-backs, you potentially look at the midfield. We didn't lose that game because our wing-backs weren't good. You know, they were actually very good. They were probably our 2 best players were Reece James and Alonso.
Really good. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And very, very attacking. They were front 3 players yesterday. So as half-time whistle's gone, so Brighton are 1-0 up away at Old Trafford. We're going to talk a little bit about sort of wildcards. Unfortunately, I can't show you what we might be thinking with wildcards. But Seb, let's run through the team you're looking at. Should you, if you were to wildcard, you don't have a wildcard, but so many are in 32. So you've obviously included a lot of players that you think, you'd be going with between now and the end of the season. So talk us through your goalkeeper choices and backline first and foremost, and then I'll add my 2 pence worth on defenders I'd be looking at.
Sure. So for the rest, I think it'll be up on the Scout site tomorrow, Monday, I think.
Nice.
It's for an article for that. So if you don't see it, it's because the article was rid of it. But yeah, the 5 goals. So at the back is Lowe and Fraser Forster. And defense is Alonso, Dean, Phillips from Liverpool, Trent Alexander-Arnold, and Reece from Wolves. The thinking behind this, I split the whole team for a start. I wanted to split it into players would be happy to hold from now into the season, injury and fortunes changing aside, and then players that I'd identify to maybe switch around and take advantage of various fixture shifts. So I want to do that as well efficiently. I want to, I'm not wildcarding. If I was, though, I wouldn't want to be one of those wildcards where I'm planning 4 or 5 transfers in the next few weeks. Sure, a couple, but I want to hold on to the players now that I'm going to hold for a while. So someone like Trent Alexander-Arnold and Nat Phillips, they just stay with me throughout. But Leno stays with me throughout. We discussed last week that Liverpool, top of the remaining fixtures to come, have improved a bit recently. Even if their defence isn't as good as it was, those fixtures are excellent for the day. Arsenal likewise have, I think, their 3rd best fixtures off the top of my head in the remainder of the season. Their defence and Bird Leno 6th for goalkeepers on post-shot XG vented, which is a bit biased towards goalkeepers that concede a lot of shots because it's in an absolute number, not a ratio of shots conceded. But it's quite a nice one for FPL because in real life, you'd go, okay, but the good goalkeepers are quite low down because they have to save fewer shots. But when you look at it for FPL, the top two in that are Martinez, Areola. I think Pope is up there. Lloris was up there. So we want that goalkeeper that can keep clean sheets, but when he doesn't keep a clean sheet or the rest of the time, is still going to concede a few shots. Yeah. So I like why Leno sits there. I like his price. I like Arsenal's fixtures. It means I can stick Fraser Forster at 4 million just on my bench. And if I need him, fine. But Leno could be used throughout. Alonso, we mentioned there, would be my... I think off the top of my head, I would only want Chelsea defender for actually 4 fixtures.
Yeah.
If you just look at the next 4 and then what you could do toward the end of the season with a few fixtures. If it was the whole Paqueta, because I maybe want to maximize my... If they concede a goal or 2 in one of those matches, Azpilicueta probably does nothing. So I'd go for Alonso just in the hope of getting a goal or an assist in that time. Luka Dean, similarly, I want him for the next few. They've possibly got that double coming up. Good attacking numbers, decent defense, but I possibly would twist him out maybe for a West Ham defender. Their fixtures really turn. Leeds look okay. A Leicester defender is decent in there. And then you hold Phillips, Alexander-Arnold, and probably Roman Saiss. I think everyone knows why Alexander-Arnold, Phillips is cheap, but if he plays, he hopefully keeps a clean sheet. And then Wolves' fixtures are really good. We don't know if their defensive numbers are as good as they could be, but their fixtures are great. So I'd have Saiss for that, and if I have to move him on, I would. What about you, Jenny, after me running through that?
Really strong. I'm looking at your 5, and I'm thinking if I was to wildcard, would I change Alonso, Dean, Phillips, Trent, and Saiss? The only I'd possibly consider Patricio instead of Saiss, and then I'd have a defender spot potentially for a Leicester defender. I love Ricardo Pereira. I do own Ricardo Pereira. He's back now. He came off the bench yesterday. But Luka Dean, yes. Alonso for the next 4, but then I could potentially swap Alonso to a Trent if you don't already have a Trent. Or potentially you go Trent and Robbo double up for the end of the season because Liverpool's fixtures are great, but maybe you want 2 Liverpool midfielders or the free spot. And then Luka Dean, I think, is always good value. So yeah, I can't argue with that. And at 4.0, Nat Phillips just looks like a banker. Are you potentially using up a Liverpool spot if you do go Phillips and Trent and you've got Jota in your midfield? How do you ever get Salah if you need to get Salah? But you're probably just committing to it and going, I wouldn't be able to get him anyway because I've allocated my funds elsewhere.
So, I mean, we discussed this last time out, and I think we were broadly in agreement. Salah isn't a bad pick by any means, but I would have Kevin De Bruyne in my midfield, so there's one expensive slot taken up. I would have Jota, more so after yesterday, I guess. Yeah. Worth noting, he only had 2 shots yesterday, but scored 2 goals, came off the bench. We think he's going to start more often than not. And I think, if anything, yesterday showed that Firmino remained on the pitch, I believe.
Yeah, he did.
So Jota can play with the other 3, which is encouraging for his minutes, right?
Firmino dropped deep. Jota went to number 9. Firmino is always dropping deep anyway, but he was kind of in the hole. Jota was leading the line. Salah stayed wide right. And sometimes we have seen Jota and Salah in a front 2 when Firmino's not on the pitch, but it was almost like a 4-2-3-1.
Yeah. So I think, I'm not saying Jota can cover Salah. He can't. But it's not about Jota covering Salah. It's about Jota, De Bruyne, Kane, Alexander-Arnold, that pot of players covering, that money if I spent it on Salah. I'd obviously have to drop De Bruyne or whatever. Some people might go with both Jota and Salah. Fair enough. The thing that tipped it for me is I don't think I'm going to captain Salah all that often. I would give the captaincy to Kane a lot, to De Bruyne a fair bit. I'd be happy handing it to Jota. There's Bruno Fernandes in there as well. I've got Son and Bale, but they would just be for the double. I would then probably get Bruno Fernandes. If I have Salah, I probably need to captain him. If I had him for the whole 8 weeks, of course he'd get it once or twice. But if I've got him in the team and I don't have a De Bruyne or I don't have a Kane because of that, I think I'm probably missing out on a better captain option.
Interesting, yeah. And loads in the chat saying Jota. Chris is saying Leicester defender Fofana. Yeah, not a bad shout. Do consider Castagna and Ricardo as they are playing with wing-backs. They're playing a back 3 and you're effectively picking 2 out-of-position midfielders. Cresswell says Sanjay. Yeah, we have mentioned West Ham going for Europe. They don't have the fixture congestion. Cresswell is definitely the best of that back line. Masuaku is back training. And before we saw Masuaku playing as the left wing back, Cresswell in a back 3. He was still getting amazing returns in a back 3. Deep crosses, still set pieces. But we could see West Ham revert to a back 3/5. Could that slightly affect Cresswell's points? Possibly.
I think the move with West Ham, although I do have Antonio in my side, but that's mostly because he scores. If West Ham score goals, he seems to be involved, or at least should be involved. And he has a ridiculous record against good teams. He has a great record against poorer teams as well. If there's anyone who's fixture proof, it seems to be him. So I'd be happy with that. But in terms of their defence, looking at the fixtures, they've got Wolves, Leicester, Newcastle, Chelsea. and then Burnley, Everton, Brighton, West Brom, Southampton. So around about 34, which is also when Leeds fixtures improve.
Yeah.
I think Chelsea's take a downturn. And off the top of my head, I forget who. It might be, could it be Leicester potentially? I think after 34, their fixtures are a bit poorer. So I'd be looking, I've got Iheanacho up front as well. I'd maybe be looking at, say, dropping Alonso after 34, and going back to an Antonio if you don't have him, a Bamford, crucially, maybe a Cresswell. I think, if you are going to plan a couple of transfers, that little switch around 34, 35 is probably the move. Worth keeping in mind, though, we think 35 might be that double. If you've got a free hit, all good. If not, maybe that's the thing you need to be planning.
Yeah, and likewise, there are people that had planned a wildcard this week that have gone, I don't have a free hit. Maybe I wildcard slightly later off the back of potential announcements around the double. We are hopeful there'll be a double in 35. Again, like I said, make sure you're following Scout on Twitter, and any sort of fixture updates, you'll be alerted. But yeah, as it stands, we've got Spurs playing a double in 32. Got a few teams not playing in 33. So, of course, we've got to start prepping for Man City and Spurs aren't playing in 33. Fulham aren't, and one other team. But, if you've got triple City, triple Spurs, think about, are you going to be able to get 11 out? Maybe we start to sell some of those cheaper Man City rotation risk assets. I sold Cancelo this week, for example. But Seb, you've stacked up in your midfield on Spurs as well. So we won't talk about Jota. Your midfield five, you've got Jota, but then you've got Son and Bale. Tell us about that.
Well, about Bale, so we were talking earlier. I've gone Son, Bale, and Kane because the double in 32. Want to take advantage of that. I based this draft wildcard on my current team as well, so prices are a bit more favourable because I currently own all three of those. But the move would then be possibly losing both Son and Bale and getting a Bruno or a Salah if you haven't gone triple Liverpool already, like me. But you're saying that maybe Bale isn't as reliable as I think he is. Maybe I've missed something there.
Yeah, it was interesting. 3 Spurs games ago, we'd seen them smash Burnley and Palace, put 4 goals past them. Bale was absolutely nailed. Then we saw, just before the international break, they went out the Europa League. Bale came on. It wasn't his fault that they are out and were so poor. Came on and actually looked good. And then Son's injured. Loads of us transferred Son out to Bale. He didn't start. I don't even know if he came on. He played Carlos Meniscus up front, which again he did today. And then today at half-time, who came on? Son. Then we're thinking, Bale will come on at 60, 70. No, Lamella comes on. Effectively, Bale has become the third choice attacking sub. And Lo Celso is back. And I always went into today's game going, it'll be Lo Celso or Bale. Why? Well, we know that Lucas is nailed. In the new number 10 role, Lucas is nailed. Mourinho loves him there. And today he actually did play wide right, but he's been playing 10 a lot. But either he's in, Kane's obviously in, and Son's in when fit. So if you're playing away from home or you're playing stronger opposition, there's not room for a fourth attacker. You'd rather go Lo Celso for his engine. He'll play Lo Celso out ball, Son out ball, and Kane up top.
See, I feel like, hey, someone in the chat who knows more than me, please shout at me here because I feel like I'm missing something. And hey, it doesn't matter what I think. Jose Mourinho picks the team, but Harry Kane up front, Gareth Bale on the right, Heung-min Son on the left, midfield. Lo Celso's a brilliant way, so definitely pick Lo Celso.
And Ndombele, and then Højbjerg.
Okay, I know that isn't a spot for Lucas, but there wasn't a spot a few weeks ago when that front three looked good.
Yeah.
What am I missing? Why does that midfield and attack not work?
Yeah, no, against Burnley and Palace, when they got the 4 goals in each game, we'll need to check, but I think there was a spot for Lucas. I think Lucas is absolutely Mourinho's boy and nailed. I think he just went, there's pressure from the fans, pressure I might get the sack, I'm going to go 4 attacking players, and Lo Celso wasn't fit then. So he played Ndombele in the 2 with Højbjerg, and then he had space for Bale on the right, Lucas in the 10 that I'd said about, Son on the left. But now he's gone back a little bit more cautious. Newcastle outplayed Spurs for a lot today. Played the better football.
One of Spurs' goals was maybe not fortunate. I think Kane had about 5 shots or so, but his second goal was a great finish. But his first, possibly a little fortunate, right? It got blocked. It came back to him. He tucks in underneath. I think Newcastle. I missed the second half. Went for a walk. Easter Sunday, innit? But I don't know if they were the better team, but it certainly didn't look like they were the worst team.
They were brilliant second half, Seb, honestly. I didn't watch much of the first. I caught a bit of it and then watched all the seconds. So, yeah, between us, we've watched all 90. But, yeah, I was really impressed by them. But also how dreadful Spurs looked. And, again, it's defensive issues. But, yeah, so back to your wildcard. You've gone heavy on Spurs in hope that for the double you get something out of Bale. But if not, you've got Son and Kane to rely on. But in the midfield, who are your other spots? You've got Jota. You went KDB. You're not worried about minutes there.
So I can accept. Tobes was saying before this that he really an hour in the next couple of matches. I have a bit more faith now. I think when KDB is fit, we've seen in the past that Guardiola really does rely on him.
Yeah.
And I would probably take 4 or 5 matches out of 6 from KDB over 6 matches from almost any other player. I mean, maybe Bruno Fernandes earlier in the season, but we're seeing so far today he's not been all that impressive. Mo Salah, sure, but hey, you could have both. I do have a lot of love for KDB. I will happily admit that. But I think it's backed up by the stats and his returns. Sure, his finishing this season maybe has been a bit suspect. He hasn't got the goals we'd hoped for. But then I believe he's got 5 goals in his last 6, not including yesterday. So it would now be 5 in 7. Probably on penalties, or at least sometimes when Aguero isn't on the pitch.
Yeah.
And his assist potential is always there against everyone. I am very happy to just keep De Bruyne in that team, pick up the consistent slow points over a bit of time, a couple of explosions, hopefully.
Yeah.
And then the thing that really clinches it for me is we've seen Pep go from rotating his team by using all his subs and, KDB, even John Stones and Ruben Dias a few months ago coming on for the last 10 minutes. We've now seen him almost not use all his subs in quite a few games and instead give people 90s and then give them entire matches off. So if De Bruyne is going to get a rest, unless things aren't going City's way, which, when are they going City's way, I think he might match off, in which case Rafinha comes off my bench. He doesn't have the best fixtures in the next couple, although one of those is Man United, and we've seen they're maybe not that impressive today, but Rafinha is so impressive and has such good underlying stats that I'm very happy having him come off the bench. And then the reason I hold on to him is because, as we mentioned, those fixtures turn in 34, it saves me that transfer. So if I can just if I maybe want to make 3, 4, 5 changes before 34, well, why don't I only make 3 or 4 changes and keep one of those players on my bench? Just saves me a transfer that I can react to something. It's
a really good way of looking at it, because I'm seeing so many going, I've got to have the perfect squad, but I'm going to be changing things. Remember, your 3 bench players aren't getting your points. So if you're bringing someone in like a Bamford or a Rafinha, or I don't know, there's a Leicester player, they can sit there on the bench if they need to. And then your front line, obviously you've got Kane, we don't need to speak about him. You mentioned Antonio, but Iheanacho is an interesting one, because Maddison we know is back. He came on yesterday, so expect Maddison to start at Leicester's next game. Barnes is only a week or 2 away. If they're both fit, Iheanacho doesn't get in the 11, does he, Seb?
I think you might be right, but then maybe you only need a week or 2 from Iheanacho. Their fixtures are
30.
Very quick.
They've got a hard one next week, or hardish. Maybe it's West Ham, and then it's like really good fixtures from 32.
West Brom, Crystal Palace, Southampton, Newcastle. 36 is Man United, Chelsea, Tottenham. So for those last 3, don't really want them anyway.
Yeah, and Barnes isn't going to come straight back in and start, so you'll know when it's coming because you'll see 10 minutes off the bench, and then you go, okay, maybe he's in.
And we talk about that fixture switching, 34, 35 again. Okay, you might miss the Newcastle fixture, but hey, they looked all right today. I feel like you can hold him for the next few, and then you've got those 2 or 3 transfers to make around 34, 35, which fixes up your team. One of those could be a Leicester player leaving. I feel like at that price, we speak about people we'd be happy to have on the bench. Iheanacho is worth it. I was looking at the stats yesterday, and Iheanacho is, of players to have played a suitable number of minutes, he is only second in the league for XGI, just behind Vardy. I think he's on 115 and Vardy's on 116. Realistically, if the only difference between those 2 players is penalties and about a £5 million price difference, I'm picking Iheanacho. And you're absolutely right. If Maddison comes in, maybe things are switched up. I wonder if Iheanacho keeps his place. Maybe he's shifted a bit wider. But based on his form recently, he'd be very unlucky to get moved out of the team. He's arguably been more impressive than Vardy for, over a little bit of those fixtures. And then when Barnes comes back in and is actually fit, maybe it's time to lose Iheanacho anyway. So I'd be happy to make that move. If there's one player in the team that happy to drop to the bench, or maybe it's not working, you have to switch him for Bamford or Antonio or Watkins, that's fine. You can do that.
Second half has kicked off, and Luke Shaw looking dangerous down the left, puts in a ball well blocked. Seb, just very quickly on Leicester, if we can't reach Vardy and we're worried about Iheanacho's minutes, and we can't wait for Barnes, and we don't want to settle for Maddison, Castagna and Ricardo, when they play the back three, which we know they're running with and they'll probably stay with, are playing as midfielders. Yesterday, we saw Albrighton starting at right wing back. Is there a chance Albrighton could take some minutes away from Ricardo, or is that just a case of Ricardo's been out, it's his hamstring, we got to be careful, he'll start the next game?
He's coming on before, hasn't he? I think it maybe comes down to fixture. Me if I'm wrong, but Leicester only have Premier League left.
Yeah.
In that case, I think Pereira's probably favourite for that.
Yeah.
Unless we get weeks where they're playing a Wednesday. I think we've seen Pereira will only play once a week, but I think you're okay with that. If you're worried, hey, go Castagna. I think he's probably nailed.
Yeah, 5.7 versus I think 5.9. Castagna's slightly cheaper, and yeah, you're right, he's definitely nailed too. Cool. So we're looking at United starting really quickly. They've probably had a bit of a rocket at half time, to be fair, because that first half wasn't great. The 0.17 XG. Sanchez kicking the ball around. He's been trying to play football in the first half, Sanchez. He put a few passes into Brighton centre-backs where it was a tight call. Like, do you pass it or do you hoof it? And he played some good passes, but tight margins. And you're thinking, one bad touch from a Ben White or a dunk and United were in. So very confident with his feet, Sanchez. The bloke who was at Forest Green Rovers only a couple of years ago. And he made the Spain
I really
squad.
like Sanchez. I really like him.
You put him in your team way before it was cool to put him in your team, Seb. When Matt Ryan had just been dropped. And I remember saying to you, you're not worried Ryan comes back in? And you were like, no, I'm all right with Sanchez. And he did. He kept his place.
Yeah. That's one of those ones that's like, that's almost too clever, maybe.
Yeah.
It was back when Brighton's underlying defensive stats were really, really good.
Yeah.
Matt Ryan was basically showing the worst goalkeeping numbers in the league.
Yeah.
So when Ryan was dropped and Sanchez came in and played well, he immediately showed really good numbers. And Brighton had good fixtures. I was like, well, hold on here.
Yeah.
A team that are defending well, a good goalkeeper has come in to replace potentially the problem, and he's really cheap. Oh, I'll pounce on this.
Yeah.
And then they conceded one goal for 5 matches in a row and it didn't look good.
Yeah.
I got rid of Sanchez because I didn't have Martinez. I got rid of Sanchez for Martinez. He then clean sheets in a row and I didn't look as clever as I'd hoped to be. But fantasy aside,
yeah,
I think it was a decent spot and I think it's come true. I possibly just got a bit excited with it for fantasy.
Yeah. And Gareth Southgate's been asking questions. They've been asking about his sort of residency and is there a chance he could have been called up for England? So yeah, he's done really well. I really like the look of this Brighton back line. I think my only concern for it is Webster is going to be back in a week or two. And does that change things? Does that mean Webster comes into the back three, therefore there's no place for Veltman in the back three? Does that put Veltman's place at risk, or does Veltman just become the right wing back, or potentially even the left wing back? Moda's been playing well at left wing back. Pascal Gross is not a wing back, but seems to be quite useful there. And his delivery is so good from wide areas, I can see the thinking.
I guess this is one for Brighton fans, really, but do you change a side that has been performing well? Maybe he just sits on the bench, at least for the first few, until there's a reason to bring him in.
Yeah.
I would suspect maybe if he does come straight back in, to that pretty solid back three, Veltman could go back to right wing back.
Or White goes to the midfield.
Lallana. Maybe. I mean, Basuma's nailed, right?
Yeah.
Trossard is nailed further forward.
And Alana's in there now. So, yeah, I don't think there's a need for two holding. Basuma's doing that job alone, isn't he?
And we've seen Pascal Gross be more of a rotation, or start and come off, or start off and come on for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Maybe he goes back to that role. Maybe you don't need both Alana and Gross if you then have Veltman at right wing back.
Yeah.
Maybe it depends on opposition.
We have also seen this season, Seb, I've just remembered, we've seen Ben White at right wing back. I'm sure we have. So, there's a few variations. My thinking is Webster is really valued by Potter. He loves Webster, and I can't imagine Webster not getting in the 11, and he can only obviously play in the centre-back, one of the three positions, which does mean either White or Veltman probably have to come out to wing-back. But again, they both seem comfortable there.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, Dan Burn played left wing-back for him.
Yeah, true.
Well. So I think but Ben White stays right back. Looking at it from the outside, I'm not a Brighton fan. He's so very good at that role. He's built for that role. Why would you out of it just to accommodate another centre-back? If anything, and Lewis Dunk stays. So if anything, Webster is going to come in for Veltman. And then it's a question of right wing back. And hey, Graham Potter doesn't care about fantasy. He will just pick what works best for his team.
Yeah, exactly. Rashford, by the way, shot from distance. about 30 yards out, and he hits it really well as Rashford hits it, sort of the Ronaldo-style dip, hits the valve from a moving ball. And yeah, it's a comfortable save for Sanchez. It's just down his throat, thankfully. But either side, that could have caused him problems. But interesting, Rashford gets the ball far out, back to goal, turns, shoots. They've been told to shoot. Like, Ollie would have said to these guys, you've not had a pop. So, yeah, if you want to ask players to shoot, there's no better than giving Rashford a nudge. He doesn't need asking twice.
Have we really seen Bruno do anything? And I don't mean that in a way. I just don't remember looking 55 touches played minutes, so a touch a minute. See, average, I guess, all right. One key pass, one off target. Probably not quite up to his usual standards. Whether his fault, whether it's because Man United can't get him, well, I'm not sure. But I don't really remember him unlocking by at all.
Yeah, no, I don't. I actually feel like, Seb, he's been quiet for a while now. I know he's got his FPL points have been ticking along. When was it? They played, was it West Brom? And he scored a worldie goal from a set piece. I think it was sort of like a sort of half volley or something. But that game, I remember thinking he's got 10 FPL points and he's been looked absolutely dreadful. And he does that a lot. He has that ability, right?
In that Rashford shot, that was. If he just catches it a bit different, it goes top corner.
Yeah.
And I think that might have been set up by Bruno, actually. So there would have been an assist for a wonder goal from sideways. Have
you got Bruno?
It would have been Harry Maguire.
Have you got Bruno?
I haven't got Bruno, no.
So,
I haven't had him for a while. I got rid of him and Salah a long time ago in game week 23 and 24, I think.
Wow. And you've not really been punished for it, have you? There's been no massive... No.
Not really. Bruno, Salah scored a couple of goals. Off the top of my head, when of him, he scored in the next two games, but I think I got rid of him for KDB, and KDB did fine. And then, yeah, Bruno, I don't really recall being too worried about it, so I don't think he's done too much. He's always been someone who, his underlying stats are always pretty much brilliant.
Yeah.
But when he first joined Man United as well, we possibly saw him, overperforming is the wrong word, because he's a brilliant player, so it's not really overperforming, but maybe things just coming off for him a bit more than you would expect. We saw him getting points in every match, whether he was playing well or whether it was a fortunate penalty. Just fall right for him to always be picking up points.
Yeah.
Maybe if that falls away, he becomes still a good option, but a little less certain. Maybe that's what we're seeing at the moment. He's ticking along all right. But when was the last time we saw someone go and get 25 points by captaining him?
Yeah, and that's the thing. I feel like both United's form at the moment and potentially their fixtures, we've not been given the armband to Bruno anyway. So when you don't own a guy like Bruno and people aren't flocking towards him for captaincy, the risk is obviously so much lower by not owning him. Saying that, over 1 million managers did captain him this weekend. Of course, being Bruno and being a United player, he will always get a huge amount of There's a lot that will be on set and forget Bruno captain at the start of the season.
Oh yeah, he's one of those players as well that, you know, the way we play fantasy is so focused on, because we get a transfer every week, because we get chips, we're micromanaging every little advantage.
Yeah.
If you just had to pick a team at the beginning of the season, okay, I know injuries and stuff, you would just pick players that, okay, I don't mind what their fixtures are like. I'm not looking at ifs and stuff. I'm just going to pick players that I know, given a certain amount of fixtures, return points, give or take, whether that's explosively or just little ones consistently.
Yeah.
You know, your team would have De Bruyne in it because he does that. You'd have Bruno Fernandes because he's just one of the most consistent returners. You don't necessarily know when the points are going to come, but you know he's going to get 200 probably quite easily.
Oh, check this out, Seb. You'll see a replay soon. Pogba goes up for an overhead kick. And he concedes a foul by doing it. And you often don't see refs attacking players for that. And I often think they should more because, you know, it's a high boot, of course, always is. But Dunk goes for the header and gets fouled. And therefore Mike Dean was the one to pull Pogba for the overhead attempt.
To be fair, I haven't really noticed Mike Dean yet.
No, I haven't.
You know, if we're going to call him out when he makes himself the centre of attention, we should also do the opposite.
Yeah.
He's probably been absolutely fine today.
Yeah, he has. And even, I can't think of any sort of controversy at all. There's been I don't even think we've had a booking. So, good refereeing there, because so many times you see in a crowded area a Pogba going up for the big bicycle. And it's often very, very dangerous. Yeah,
that's one of those where you don't want to see those beautiful goals ruled out. But if a defender's going to stick their head in and, hey, they've got to, we probably should protect the defender's head there. I think that's the reasonable thing to do.
Yeah, and all those good bicycle kicks we remember, if you think back to the Ronaldo one, the Bale one, the Champions League final, the Ronaldo one against Juve, last couple of years.
In that
Champions League final.
That's forgotten about because obviously
they lost.
Juve were beaten there and Real Madrid, they scored some better goals almost.
That made it 1-1.
Mandzukic one was ridiculous, yeah.
Just before half-time, it made it 1-1. And that was, But all these 3 goals are kind of unchallenged where they're in a bit of space, which makes the goal really beautiful.
I've just seen it there, yeah. Like no injury at all. I mean, the fact that he doesn't connect with the ball because he kicks dunk in the shoulder or whatever, I guess shows that, fair enough, give that to the defender.
Yeah, and we've got a corner now. Interesting that Shaw took the last corner from the left. Now Bruno is taking a corner from the left. So it's an in-swinger. Hits the front man. Oh, bad from Bruno. Bruno back in with a cross. Hits the front man. Welbeck clears.
That's one of those, hitting the front man from a corner is one of those tropes that I'm never quite sure on because you hear so often people go, oh, you've got to beat the first man.
Yeah, sorry, first man, not front man. Yeah, you're right.
Close enough. But what's probably the best corner you can think of? It's one that goes like low and angled and just beats that first man and is so hard to pick out. So that's what we're going for. Of course, they're going to hit the first man. So that's such a fine margin of error. I think we possibly is out for that because it'd be so easy to avoid the first man and just lump it into the box, but you'd never score a goal.
Yeah. I'm thinking Champions League final, Chelsea Bayern Munich, Drogba! That was a near post header from a Mata corner and it was just beats the first man and that near post swizzle from Drogba, just perfect top bins. Love that. Seb, we've had a question from Sanjay. What's your current midfield at the Mo? Is it no Salah or Bruno? So you've got no Bruno, but you don't have any Salah either. So your midfield 5, how does that look at the moment?
My current midfield is Gundogan, De Bruyne, Son, Bale and Rafinha. Although I do have 2 free transfers, so that will almost certainly change this week. Almost certainly for Jota.
Okay. I've got, off the top of my head, Rafinha, Gundogan, Foden, so 2 City, and then I've got Bruno, and that leaves one more. Who have I got?
Did you bring Jota in?
No, that's the plan for next week. The plan was Jota Son, or Trent. Oh, Son. I brought Son in. Yeah. But again,
so will you be keeping your 2 City? You've got Gundogan and Foden. Will you be keeping both of them?
Yeah, I'm keeping both for Leeds, which is next week, and I think one of them will start. Don't know who yet. Depends what Pep does in the champs, right? Although Gundogan is definitely going to play both Champions League games, so potentially he, even though he was rested yesterday, potentially rested again. If Foden doesn't play Champions League or start in the Champions League, then he's absolutely nailed to start against Leeds, which is very exciting as a Foden owner, I think. But I actually think he will start champs. Foden.
Gundogan could be very good. Just from an FPL perspective, just thinking what hurts Leeds.
Yeah.
Individual runners from deep arriving, overloading our man marking system.
Yeah, I mean, McTominay.
How does Gundogan score his goals? Yeah, exactly.
So, McTominay can do that twice in the first 10 minutes of a game. Yeah, I expect a hat-trick from Gundogan.
Yeah, that's a fair shout.
So no, I want both those guys, Foden and Gundogan, for the Leeds fixture. And I was going to bring Jota in for one of them. I'm now thinking Jota could wait a week because, again, Champions League minutes for Jota could affect the weekend game. But Trent, because he's had a rest. Rashford's in. Oh, good save from Sanchez. It was a 1-on-1. Sanchez could have easily conceded a penalty there. He goes for ball, not player, gets the ball. And I think it was Bruno that may have put... No, it wasn't. But Bruno's going out to take the corner. It's a great ball over from Pogba. Amazing pass. Wait till you see this, Seb. And it wasn't Rashford. It was Bruno that was in. But good save out for the corner. But yeah, back to Man City quickly, because I think you'll probably see this in about a minute, Seb, because I think you're a bit behind. So when you do, talk us through it. But yeah, I'm happy with the City lads. And I think I'll go Trent, who's absolutely nailed now to play every game. And he's had a good rest in the internationals. And I want Trent anyway. I could bring in Jota for Rafinha, but then I think I'll want Rafinha back in 3-4 weeks. I do have Bamford for that great fixture run-in for Leeds, but I almost think I want Bamford and Rafinha, so maybe it just becomes a Leeds bench option.
I think Rafinha is a superior option to Bamford now as well.
Me too.
I currently have both, but we spoke about this a few weeks ago, a change in how Leeds were attacking, a little less attacking, if you like, and very much a focus on it being Rafinha. Yeah. He takes set pieces, he creates a lot of our chances. He's also on the end of plenty of chances himself. I wonder if Bamford, off the top of my head, what has he done? Scored 2 goals in about 6 games or something? Don't get me wrong, in real life, brilliant. Yeah. No problem with him at all. From a fantasy perspective, I wonder if he's as important And if you want a Leeds player, I think Rafinha's really the one.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I actually think I'm with you. I'll be benching one of my 2 Leeds attackers for the next 3 weeks. I actually have to play one of them for all their hard fixtures, maybe even 2. But when it's just one of them, it will be Rafinha I start, and Bamford will be potentially first sub. I don't know if you saw that chance that Bruno had, but it was a great ball over from Pogba. But I think there's actually been a bit of action, and Bruno's in here, puts in Rashford, 1-1. Bruno assist.
Him doing nothing, but got this chance here as well before that one. Brilliant ball from Pogba. Bruno probably just miscontrols the first thing. Otherwise, he has a very good test as well. But it doesn't matter if you've got a Bruno assist there and a Rashford goal, did you say?
Yeah, it was. Bruno doesn't seem that happy. I think he thinks he was fouled in the build-up. But Bruno finds some space, which he's not had. Cavani wins the knockdown. He's 30 yards out, middle of the goal. Plays in Rashford, who's on the angle from the left. And it's the Thierry Henry finish. Side foot, far corner. 12 yards out, first time. Sanchez knows where he's going to put it. You always know where, we've watched Thierry Henry for years. That's where strikers want to put the ball in that position. But he just can't get there. Yeah, good goal. But the first time Bruno's had space.
Fair. I mean, we were saying earlier we didn't know if Bruno had done much, and then he's had a chance and an assist within a minute of each other or so.
Yeah.
I guess we were speaking about him ticking over when it's like he's not playing well. That's the thing with him. He is good enough to the point, and speaking in real life here, not just fantasy, that he can dominate games absolutely by controlling the whole thing, or he can just quietly float around and be involved in just those key moments. And it looks more like the latter today.
Yeah. 63 minutes gone, 1-1. Trossard has come off for the typical Argentinian name in McAllister comes on. But McAllister is an out-and-out number 10. He'll adopt exactly the same position as Trossard. It's not a change in system at all. Alexis
I've just seen that
coming
goal.
on. Oh, yeah. What do you think?
Really nice finish. Nice finish. The way he opens himself up and just passes it. I can see why Bruno is unhappy. He carries it late, to open up some space quite easily. He's caught. The Brighton players are coming in to try and close him down before he can pull that off. And he's just caught, isn't he? But, I mean, obviously the goal is given and all that, but he shouldn't complain too much. Man United have scored. What more did he want?
Yeah, exactly. And he does seem, Bruno, he's quite aggy. He'll be in the ref's ear at every opportunity, which is fine. And again, he's probably very targeted on the pitch, so takes a lot of heavy fouls or heavy challenges. Basuma just steals it off Bruno, actually, and now Brighton have the ball again. But United have looked much better this second half. They're a completely different team this second half.
Well, I don't know if looking at the replay from behind the goal, which you would have seen, I'm not going to say Sanchez should have saved it because it's one of those angles.
Oh, you sound like me and Tobes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's deceptive. You can't quite tell whether the ball has already gone past him by the time he gets there. But it almost looks like he should be able to reach that. I mean, maybe that's praise to the finish. It's so well placed.
Tall guy struggles to get down quick. I don't know. I mean, it's not right in the corner either. It's almost it's actually close enough to Sanchez to make it harder to get to. He's got to go. He can't stretch out for it. He's got to go down.
Nothing from Rashford. It's a very well placed finish. Speaking of Rashford, does he get in your England team?
Nowhere near. He gets in the squad, just.
Yep.
And by the way, just gets in the squad because we're talking about a squad, by the way, that's probably not going to include Grealish or Sancho. One of them isn't going, which is criminal.
I mean, Southgate can pick who he likes, and he's obviously a better manager than me. But I am very surprised that both of those not only wouldn't go, I would start them both.
Yeah.
It would be Kane and those two either side.
See, I'd start Grealish and Foden. As a wild card.
I mean, you could have Foden in midfield, although I know we've discussed he maybe isn't quite ready for that role yet.
I do feel like Sterling probably should start for his intelligence and his experience.
Nice problem to have, though, right?
So maybe Foden's first sub and I'd start Grealish. But yeah, I mean...
So we are very oversubscribed in that area. We speak of
wide
centre back and
forwards,
maybe troubling. Yeah, we have Rashford, Grealish, Sancho, Sterling, Foden.
But take them all.
Play so many players there.
Take them all and take only one other number 9. Because Harry Kane will play every game. And when he doesn't, Calvert-Lewin can come in. You don't need to take an Ings or a Watkins as well. If Watkins or Ings goes in this squad and Sancho or Grealish doesn't, I'm sorry, take an extra wide forward because remember, Sterling can play false 9 if you need to. And also Harry Kane will play every minute. Your number 2, number 9, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, probably isn't going to get a single minute. So why the hell do you need 3 number 9s?
The number 2 is there for when you're qualified and you're resting Harry Kane, or if Harry Kane gets injured.
Yeah, which won't be the case.
There is basically no good reason. Because even, the old throw another forward on. Firstly, that's not how football works. But secondly, got or a Sancho or a Foden on the bench, it's probably still a better option than just a Calvert-Lewin or a Watkins. And don't get me wrong, I love Calvert-Lewin and I think Watkins is very good.
Me too.
But I would start Sancho, who I think is weirdly underrated, and I would start Grealish. And I would just bring Foden on as a rule in the 60th minute every single match. Basically, no matter the match situation, he would give you something.
Yeah, Sanjay says, Seb, I think you do a good job managing England. Love that. Louis, Gianni, do you remember when you had Nketiah in your draft for game week 1? Yeah, I do, Louis. Thanks. We'll forget about that. I actually didn't go with it in the end. Or maybe I did. No, I don't think I did. But anyway, yeah, he was in my first team reveal video. And again, he'd had a really good Community Shield game against whoever.
He did, didn't he, actually? Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Liverpool, presumably.
Yeah.
Is he 4.5? I could see it being one of those. He's my third bench, but what if he starts? What if he comes on and scores goals?
Yeah,
Not
exactly.
unreasonable. Or didn't Arsenal have a really good start as well? Because we all captained Aubameyang.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, they had Fulham away. Yeah, they had Fulham away, and Aubameyang did score, but Salah got the hat trick against on the opening day against Leeds, who I didn't captain. You probably didn't either. But
no, I captained Aubameyang.
I think I'd seen a notification that there's been action. I'm not looking at the chat because I want to see this as I see it. So hopefully there's been action. I mean, it might not have been, but we're on the halfway line with the throw-in, so perhaps not. But yeah, going back to that Arsenal team, I'd seen them in the FA Cup final, in which I think they won it. I can't remember. Was it Chelsea they beat? Oh, Welbeck's in here, edge of the area. Oh, Maguire gets a block in, and he's putting Rashford on the counter. So this is going to be a United attack. Oh, damn. Oh, maybe not. Okay, I'm looking at the chat. I don't think there's been a goal. Sanjay, what are you doing? It was Sanjay, I'm sure, that said 2-1. Okay, no action. Thank you, Louis. All right. Sanjay, you've been good on the chat today, so I'm not going to boot you out, but none of that, please. I was so excited there when I saw Welbeck on the edge of the box. And then when I saw the ball go out for another throw-in on the halfway line, I was like, no, I'm looking at the chat.
Fair enough. I don't think I've even seen the throw-in yet. I'm so far behind you.
Yeah, you are a few bits. What were we on? What were we talking about? I can't remember. Where were we? We were in good discussion.
Talking about England and have probably moved on. And you're right, I've forgotten as well. I got far too carried away with 2-1.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I think we were done on the England chat.
Okay, slightly circle back to England then. Greenwood. So, last season, obviously ridiculous. Hey, he's a great finisher, but a ridiculous overperformance. Like, you can't score every shot you ever take, no matter how good you are. This season, obviously playing primarily wide, doing a fine job, probably just not there yet. Like, he's a talented player. He's not the next Messi. He's in the next show, to be fair. Brilliant, could be Man United's number 9 in the future. He's just not ready yet for me. You've got so many options that are performing and playing well ahead of him.
Oh, Seb, Welbeck. So close. So close. And Maguire's doing that, as in Mike Dean's going to listen to VAR, potential penalty. I don't think I saw anything there. But Maupay has the ball out wide on the left, puts it in. And Maguire does look like he takes down Welbeck. I could see that being, will they give it? I think it hits the post and goes out. It clips, maybe it just goes past the post. But Maupay is 2-on-1. Maupay wide left, puts the ball in to that area between keeper and last man. Maguire's the last man. Full stretch, Welbeck gets his toe just to it and it goes out. And yeah, they're not even going to look at it. Well, VAR probably have looked at it, but there's been no hold up, I don't think. No, they are looking at it. I've got a graphic. They're going possible penalty. Maguire definitely takes him. It's a slight nudge, but he 100% takes him. But I don't think that will be given.
Is it enough? Do you think it's enough?
No, I don't think it's enough. 100% should be given, in my opinion. No, it's not been given. No penalty.
Fair enough. It's one of those as well where if there isn't that intervention, is he even a chance? Sounds like the ball might have been close to going out from what you've said.
Yeah. Damn. So
what did you make of that Watkins one earlier?
I thought penalty all day long.
So I didn't see the VAR replays. I just and I missed the replays, but it looked like just one of the clearest. Like, he got his toe to the ball first and was taken out. I'm guessing he didn't get to his toe to the ball first, but what happened there?
The more I saw it, the more I went, okay, maybe it's not a pen. And VAR had to look at 12.
Oh, sorry, that Maguire one isn't a penalty.
Do you not think?
No, I mean, I've only seen it once. I've not seen the replay, but it's one of those. Welbeck isn't getting there, so he's looking to go. Okay, maybe I can take Maguire here.
See, I didn't think it was a pen when I first saw it, but then I saw the replay and said, "Wait till you see the replay." I don't know. I mean, there's contact.
I mean, there can be contact and it not be a penalty.
Yeah, right? But there's contact with it.
He doesn't have the ball's coming in. He doesn't have it in his possession.
No,
I don't know if he's getting there. I think he might maybe initiate that contact as much as Maguire does. Maguire is trying to get to the ball ahead of him, I suppose.
Yeah, it's just there's a bit of a leg tangling, and when you see the replay, I think Welbeck was getting there. I don't know.
Okay.
It's an interesting one. Rashford, by the way, is being subbed ahead of Greenwood here. So Dan James is coming on to presumably play on the right, and Greenwood will come over to the left. But is Rashford injured? For him to come off ahead of Greenwood is very strange.
That is a surprise. Not that Greenwood has been poor or anything, but we've seen Rashford score the goal. I think he's been on the counter a few times.
Yeah.
He's probably looked.
He's been brighter than Greenwood.
Yeah, unless I've missed it. I think I agree.
He's not walking that happily. I wonder, and he has been out, hasn't he? He withdrew from the England squad. So again, yeah, I think he's walking towards the corner, which is where the tunnel is at Old Trafford.
Yes.
So he's possibly going for treatment. So yeah, again, not great for Rashford owners there. Potentially, although, no, they'll have a Europa League game, won't they? Did you see the replay on that, Seb? What did you reckon?
I've not. I've missed it, I'm afraid, so I will have to rely on you.
No worries. I'm going to go lucky United getting away with it. In fact, in the chat, United is just so lucky I don't understand VAR. There we go. Another one. United loves VAR. Rashford's ain't even fit, gone down the tunnel. Yeah, exactly. I think he has, Louis. Video assistant red.
That's a bit of a stretch, that one.
Brilliant. It would have been interesting. Who would have taken the pen? Morpie?
For Brighton. Morpie's been on them earlier in the season, so I would assume Pascal Gross can, but I don't see any reason for it not to be Morpie.
Yeah, it would be Morpie, wouldn't it? Pogba doing well there on the edge of the box. Gives it out to Wan-Bissaka, who's actually crossing the halfway line at times today. You were mentioning about Greenwood. Yeah, for me, should be nowhere near the England first team. England squad even. I don't get it. I think he's a very good finisher, and never said he's the best finisher in the club, and I can see that. I don't think he's a wide forward. I think he is a number 9. He might not be built like we think a number 9 should be built, and he's young, but it doesn't matter. Michael Owen was a number 9. For me, Greenwood's a number 9, and when he plays in that role, he's far more dangerous.
It's one of those. I want him in the team, so I'll stick him out.
Yeah,
but yeah, he is. If he's not a number 9, he is a forward in the way that a Salah or a Mane is.
Yeah,
he is not a right winger in a 4-2-3-1.
Yeah, exactly that. Seb, Rashford is a winger in a 4-2-3-1 on the left, but do you think Rashford wants to be a nut? Is Rashford? Because I've thought this again for, like, if you're going with wide forwards for England, well, Rashford could be your backup number 9, or DCL is, but your third. Like, again, it goes back to you definitely don't need 3, because Rashford can play there, Sterling can. But I think Rashford, if you asked him what his favourite position was, and no one ever was ever to hear it, and it was a one-on-one conversation, which you just don't obviously have, I think he'd tell you he's a 9.
I guess, I mean, there's two answers there. The first one being, yeah, he could be your backup striker, but he's very different to Harry Kane.
Yeah.
So if you're just looking for a sub for Harry Kane, I'm not sure that works.
Yeah.
We know, we've seen him and Martial in the past. Whoever starts up front, they both want to drift wide and take that position on the left.
Yeah.
So whether he starts there or starts up front, I think he's going to end up in the left channel.
Thierry Henry, yeah.
Yeah. And then in terms of, if you ask him where he wants to play, well, ask anyone who plays anywhere ahead of about number 6 where they want to play, and it's probably up front scoring goals, right?
I don't know. Mo Salah would say no. I'm a right forward.
I mean, he's only a right. He's
down the middle. Hazard would say the same. Like, you wouldn't say Rashford. I think wants to be the central guy.
Okay, no, that's fair. I guess so. Yeah, Hazard and Salah are still going to say, "I want to be the main man who's going to score goals." But yeah, maybe accepting it's going to come from that position. You think Rashford say the thing, but he wants it to start from number 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's fair. Maybe that's fair. What's his play like not facing goal? So he's brilliant on the left because obviously he's quick.
He's got space,
but he's good with the ball at his feet. He's a good dribbler. He takes up good positions there.
Oh, good save. Oh, it's over. Phew, 1-1 still. Okay, shot comes in from distance. Sanchez spills it, comes to the edge of the area, and somehow it falls to Greenwood. and maybe a bit of a ricochet. Keeper's on the floor and it just loops over the bar. But shot comes in from Bruno. I'm seeing the replay. It's parried. Dan James gets a foot there, falls to Greenwood, and then, over the bar. But that was close. And Sanchez should have done better. So, go on. We're saying, Rashford's all-round play, Seb. He's not back-to-goal hold-up play, for example. He couldn't do that job.
Or not even hold-up. I mean, absolutely hold-up, but not even that. I think being involved in play, finding spaces, creating and being on the end of chances is very different from the left to the right. We see how many strikers do we see? Timo Werner, Thierry Henry, Marcus Rashford, Anthony Martial, a Griezmann, goodness, even a Salah, Mane, etc. How many actually stay up front?
Yeah.
And how many player number 9 by dragging out and coming in and dragging out and coming in? I don't think, and Harry Kane is capable of both of those, I think, especially if you look at his heat map, he's all over the place. I don't think Rashford can do, and hey, I might be wrong. I'd love to be proven wrong, but I don't think he can do the stay at number 9 and occupy that.
Yeah.
I think he wants to leave and move into that space, but you need someone else to do that job for him to work in that position.
He'd probably tell you his favourite position was actually playing in a 2-man attack. And he has a 9 to play off. I just watch Rashford, and I think there's something missing from him playing as a wide man. Oh, have you seen the chance?
I've just seen that chance. That is some, speaking of dodgy goalkeeping that you love, that is some dodgy goalkeeping. And then Greenwood. I don't know. I guess he's just reaching, isn't he? He just loops it, and it's one of those everyone's watching
slow-mo,
and it's just over. Yeah,
feels like it was. Dan James does well to win the ball because Dan James gets his foot there. But I was heart and mouth there, as you probably saw. I thought that was in. Looks like Van der Beek is going to come on. So interesting because they could have put Van der Beek on when Rashford was injured, and he still went Dan James, who has been playing well, scored for Wales.
That's got to be for Greenwood, right? Maybe you push Pogba further up. Or
I think you push Pogba
Bruno
wide left.
Van der Beek at 10, yeah.
Pogba goes wide left, and then, Pogba goes in the position he's been playing.
Unless it is Pogba, I'd be surprised. It's not going to be Bruno.
Yeah, it's definitely not going to be Bruno. And Pogba's looked comfortable. Second half, Pogba's been on the ball a lot. He's been very good. But again, does he often play 90? I don't know.
I mean, I think we were speaking about Pogba a lot in the half. Revisit that with what you just said there. I do think that, everyone wants spectacular goals and assists from Pogba because he's capable of it.
Yeah.
I really think his best role, and he did it, that Met Salah for Juve, he was involved in goals and assists. But that role for France, where he's just a bit quieter, like he's so very good physically and tactically and technically, you've got that triple threat. You'd love that just in midfield, dominating a game, right?
But France have the ball a lot, and when the team has the ball a lot, it's a lot easier to play that role, right? Like you could see him playing that role really well at City, but I look at this first half, and actually Brighton had the lion's share of possession, so it was harder. Second half, United have got more of the ball, and Pogba's looking better. Like it just goes to show, with the ball, he's so much better.
So and then that's not Pogba's fault. Sure,
no,
he could win the ball as well, but we were saying, you want your Kante, your Idrissa Gueye, or whoever it is to be the one winning the ball, so that Pogba can then do things with it. Yeah,
it's playing to his Pogba's strengths are when his team has the ball. They're not, they're offensive strengths, not defensive strengths. And when his team hasn't got the ball, he perhaps isn't going to be the workman in the middle to get the ball off the other team.
He will do that. We've seen him in his own box run back, recover balls, try and bring it out. But it's always with an eye on progressing the ball and turning that defence into a counter-attack.
Yeah.
What he probably isn't going to do is be picking up the interceptions, harrying players. He's fine to recover, but you don't want him recovering, right? Because if he's the one recovering, who's he giving the ball to? Okay, Bruno Fernandes, but we've discussed that already at number 10, and we could probably spend the rest of the day talking about it.
Yeah. Just on the corner of the 18-yard box, so on the angle, Bruno has the ball, little shimmy, finds the way to shoot, laces it down the throat of Sanchez, comfortable save. But Bruno, we've seen a lot of shots from distance in this second half. We saw the opening of the second half with Rashford from range. Bruno's had about 4. I think Pogba's had one, Greenwood's had one. They've been told to shoot on sight, and it's happening, it's working. But Bruno really should have passed that. He can be very greedy. And again, from that angle, are you going to score? Probably not.
That's one of those, the old greedy thing is one of those match of the day quotes where you want your striker to be greedy. And I guess, you probably do.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that often, it frustrates me, but maybe not fairly so. Because I'm like, if you score a goal, brilliant. If you don't, you should have passed. Well, obviously, thanks for that insight. But you see Harry Kane, he takes, his shot numbers are probably, I'd assume, the highest in the league. But how many times do we see Harry Kane in a position where possibly laying it off or playing someone through is better, and he shoots. I think he probably did it today for his second goal and he scored because he's a good finisher. But Bruno's probably, despite all the chances he creates, he probably is one of those as well where he will happily take that shot when something else is on. I guess I can't hate him for it because he does produce the goods, but you maybe want him to make a difference. I've just seen it there. You maybe think that wasn't quite the right decision. Maybe no one's offering for him. That's why he's done it. If no one's offering for him, he just takes a shot.
Oh, Seb, Van de Beek is on. Cavani is off, which means Greenwood's going to play number 9.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. We're going to get our boy up top. Interesting that I didn't see that one coming, to be fair. But Cavani hasn't.
I don't think we called it. Yeah.
No, not at all.
Cavani did win the ball for the.
Yeah.
He won it, laid it down to Bruno. Bruno played Rashford in. So, but maybe that's the one thing we've seen him. That's the role you'd want from him. But I don't think I've seen him do that more often than that.
Yeah. In the chat, we're not going to talk about England again, but until I just want to have the last say on this because Mohamed has done what he knows he'll do and got a reaction out of me. I like Mount a lot, but I don't think he should be starting for England. I don't get it, Mohamed. Why? I genuinely think he's the second name on the team sheet. Like, Kane is absolutely number 1 name. Name me someone else that's higher up the England rankings for Gareth. Oh, Bruno's in here on the left. Puts the ball in. Drops to Pogba, shoots, Greenwood, goal. Greenwood.
Oh, Greenwood. There we go. Well, a minute up front.
Pogba shoots, and he scuffs it, and it bounce. Greenwood tapping with the header. And it was a shot, not Pogba obviously gets the assist, but damn, 2-1 United. We'll wait till we see the replays on that. But yeah, Greenwood, he's been number 9 for all of 60 seconds. And Seb, I'll come to you on who above Kane and Mount is maybe Maguire, but is absolutely nailed for England. Who does Gareth? If Gareth's putting these players are playing every minute of every game, or I'm doing my 11, who's above them?
Henderson, I'd imagine, for Southgate.
Hendo, did you say? Yeah, fair.
Yeah. But I mean, asking who is first name on the team sheet is fine, but. Yeah, I agree. Mount is probably in that team. I think my midfield would probably be Calvin Phillips if I could, but realistically, Henderson, Rice and Mount.
You can't play Calvin Phillips and Rice, though, can you?
Agreed, and I think realistically, Rice probably gets in over that.
It was weird seeing Calvin Phillips having to play 8 against Poland.
I quite liked it. Like Rice and Phillips. I'm not saying it worked, but I quite liked it as something to try in the future. But realistically, Henderson, Rice, and Mount is your midfield.
Yeah, interesting. They've gone 2-1 up straight away. Pogba off, McTominay on. Makes sense. I get it. Ooh. He scuffs it big time, doesn't he?
I've just seen it there. It's Pogba's going for a lovely finish and just hits it into the ground, which makes it hard to defend. I think Van de Beek was going in as well, and Greenwood it's not even a particularly good header. I think it possibly could have been kept out, but. That's all you want from your number 9 or number 11. Right place, right time, and put it in the net. And as we said earlier, yes, his finishing from last season was unattainable. If there's one thing he has, it's a very, very good instinct for finishing.
Yeah.
And technique on that finishing.
Gary Neville says a lot. He reminds him loads of Van Persie in terms of that. In terms of
nice.
So he's a killer in front of goal.
Yeah. And I mean, Greenwood's 2-footed as well. Van Persie was very 1-footed.
Yeah,
but
very
that
left-footed.
left foot was ridiculous. If you gave him that left foot, it was, I was going to say a goal. That's clearly not true. But more often than not, he pulled something out.
Yeah. And actually, when you look at the United attacking players, Cavani's a bit different because he is a good finisher. This was said by Gary Neville a while ago. But if you compare Greenwood's finishing with Rashford, Martial, Dan James, well, he's head and shoulders above, isn't he, in terms of finishing?
Actually, yeah, to be fair. If we were to, and I don't know this, so someone please check and tell me I'm wrong by all means, but if we were to look at XG...
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Bruno Fernandes aside,
yeah.
I bet there's only one player who has a positive record, and that would be Greenwood.
Yeah. Would Pogba? I don't know. Because he scores the worldies, Pogba.
But he takes so many of those. You always remember the one he scores. I'm gonna say no. Maybe he equals his XG.
Yeah.
I would be surprised if he exceeds it.
And it won't be much. Yeah. Greenwood does by a lot. We can clearly Greenwood, like he's humming, maybe not humming Son levels, but yeah, if you go off last season, he was brilliant.
Given a suitable sample size, and we probably don't have quite enough data on Greenwood, but I would say he's probably the best finisher in that team, including Bruno. He's probably a better finisher than Bruno.
Yeah. Brighton sub coming on. Not gonna lie, I'm not sure who he is. I've seen his face. I can't think of many Premier League players I'd look at and go, who's that? I'm struggling on this one. Don't know. I must admit, I haven't seen the Brighton bench. I'll probably recognise all the names, but I'm not sure who's coming on. Interesting to see this. I'm going to have to look at the bench now just to see if I can see the names.
I've not seen it yet, but I've just got up the team up, so see if I can cheat.
Yeah, go on. Give me some names that I might not know the faces of on that Brighton bench.
I mean... Oh, okay. No, fair enough. I've just seen who it is, and I don't know who that is. Zakiri.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see. Now I know the name. I think he's a wing-back.
Would make sense. Considering he's come on for us, would that be Gross into the middle, or maybe he is in the middle himself?
Here we go. Zakiri comes off from Milana, and
we've got
Yannick
Yakinbash, so maybe, yeah, he goes left wing-back, I guess. Would that seem reasonable?
Yeah, I think it would. And Yakinbash, I know the face of. They paid loads of money for him. He was like high teens.
He was so good in Holland as well. It's one of those that's it felt a bit like the Trossard. Trossard has come off, but it felt a similar profile, similar sort of hope. I guess if you're going to recruit players, you're Brighton. You can't recruit absolutely proven assets, so you have to look at people who are maybe overperforming in a second rate, and I mean that kindly. I don't mean harshly. It's a second tier league in the Eredivisie. I guess you have to take an approach of Stein and Brighton really do go for the stats. They're a club that really do look at that Moneyball type football, type signing style. If you sign 3 or 4 of them, maybe one of them doesn't come off, and he's probably the one. But Trossard did come off, so you'd take.
Yeah, exactly that. And I remember, it was a Chris Hughton signing. Oh, Brighton in here, but no, good cross, good save, comfortable save.
What do you need from a Chelsea point of view here? Man United not to win.
Yeah, and I always need United not to win. But yeah, I mean, it would have been good for Chelsea. With, of course, as we mentioned, Leicester dropping points. It would have been nice, and Spurs. In the chat, educated chat, love this. Zakiri, FPL Swede, he's a forward in FPL, but plays as a wing back.
Oh no, the worst.
The worst out of position. Leo Wang, he plays as left wing back, I think. Greg, Zakiri's a striker, but playing out of position. Really good. Robin has asked what the bonus points is. Seb, would you mind having a look at the BPS? Shall we? Let's have a guess before we see them.
Go for it.
So the goal scorers for United, Greenwood as listed as a midfielder won't get as much as he would have done as a forward. The first goal was Rashford, who's also listed as a midfielder. So I'm going to say Greenwood because the winning goal edge. I'll go Greenwood on for 3. And then the Brighton goal was scored by Welbeck, another forward. So the three goal scorers, I think, might be I think it's going to be Greenwood, Welbeck, Rashford 1.
So I've not scrolled down yet. I've got it here. I promise I've not scrolled down. Forwards, maybe Rashford because midfielder not so much, and possibly not involvement. I think Pogba could be up there. Bruno always.
Bruno got an assist.
Maybe. But I think if we think Pogba has an assist in theory in fantasy, has had some shots, I forget if they're on target or not, has created a couple of chances, and just involvement. Involvement is a big thing. So I might put Pogba, Welbeck, and Bruno.
Greenwood got the winning goal though.
Oh, good point. Oh yeah, no, okay. Greenwood over Pogba, Greenwood, and Welbeck.
Okay. So in what order was your 3?
Oh no. Welbeck's the only forward there, I think, and he scored. It's not a winning goal, so I would go Pogba, Welbeck, Greenwood. I've
gone Greenwood, Welbeck, Rashford. Although I'm with you on Pogba, but I'm not going to change.
Okay, let's have a look. So I have Welbeck on 30, top. Pogba second on 27.
Oh,
and then Fernandes and Rashford equal 25. Greenwood back on 20.
Ouch! Greenwood hasn't been. I guess he hasn't been involved. In terms of involvement, but. Yeah, interesting. Okay, so Welbeck out on top. How much? How clear is he?
He's on 30. Pogba is on 27. Fernandes and Rashford back on 25. So if it stays as is, he's possibly only going to lose it to Pogba for involvement. But what are there, like 5 minutes left? It might be Welbeck's.
Was Greenwood yellow carded?
Not got a yellow. Pascal Gross, Ben White. Okay. Has he just not been involved, or has he missed a big old chance? Missed anything like that? I don't.
He did miss that chance which looped over. Oh, okay, yellow card for Greenwood makes sense. I don't think he was yellow carded, Swede.
I've not got it on the fantasy site, but maybe it hasn't updated just yet.
Yeah, possibly. I can't remember any big chances. United haven't really missed many big chances today. There's a couple of half chances. I can't think. There was a Bruno one we rounds to keeper. That wasn't a big chance. There was edge of the box Greenwood, which looped over. That wasn't a big chance. Shots from range.
It's not really been a game of massive chances. Even when Brighton were on top, I don't think they created.
The Welbeck penalty appeal was the thing that swung it, though. That was at 1-1, Seb. The Maguire-Welbeck one, which you didn't see the replay of. But the chat seemed to think, although we often have a very anti-United brigade on, which I'm included in, by the way. I'm with you guys. Greenwood was yellowed, says Leo.
Okay, it's not on the but hey, fair enough.
Yeah.
In terms of the stats then, 58% possession Man United, which from the second half seems reasonable now.
Yeah.
United have had 15 shots, 7 on target, to Brighton's 5, 3 on target. So Man United, I mean, that's fair enough in the second half. It really has been all Man United. Big chances here. Man United apparently have had 4, Brighton 3, and both teams have missed 2. So Welbeck is probably going to be those 2 chances, or 2 of those 3 for Brighton, one of which will be missed. I'm struggling to think of... I mean, I guess the Greenwood one is being counted. That's the thing with big chances. They're subjective. Yeah. So, someone at Opta who, hey, fair enough, is probably more qualified than all of us to make the call, but it is someone just making a call based on their opinion. I'm struggling to think of 7 big chances in this match.
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
But Welbeck's will count as 2. He missed one and then he scored one. Let's say Greenwood's probably is.
From the edge of the box?
The goal.
Okay.
It's close in. I wouldn't necessarily call Greenwood's a big chance because there were so many players diving in and he just gets...
What about Pogba's for the goal, the assist that he gets? He shoots and he's a half volley 8 yards out. There's a lot of traffic, but... Maybe
that's one of those ones that maybe subjectively you could call it a big chance or you might not. But if we looked at the XG at that, on the half volley, from an angle with 2 or 3 players between him and the goal, I bet it's not a high XG chance.
Yeah. Oh, Brighton corner. Keeper coming up.
Oh,
Sanchez. Ouch. No, rubbish. Goes nowhere. Cleared by United. I love a keeper coming up. And we saw recently, Lewis Dunk, by the way, and Maguire having some verbals, which is great. Mike Dean's had to blow up because they're at it. We saw a Sevilla keeper recently, Seb, that scored a goal. I think it was.
Oh, I must have missed that for once.
I think we
I'm not
did.
Aware of that.
I think we saw a Sevilla keeper 3 weeks ago, maybe, scoring from a set piece.
Oh, so good.
Which was last minute. I love that. I've not seen that in
ages.
ages.
I was about to say, I feel like I've not seen one in long enough, but there you go. We're overdue Peter Schmeichel, 90th minute, come up and bundle it over the line.
Yeah. Sanjay, Gianni, if you're anti-United, can we assume you were born in Manchester? No, Sanjay, but what we can assume is that I started liking football in the 90s and all my mates were United fans and they used to win everything and I didn't support them. So yeah, not Manchester links and I'm not a City fan. It's more they were the best team when I was growing up. They were winning everything. So yeah, it was always heartbreaking to see them win. But yeah, I'm anti-United for that reason only, really.
I'd say as a Leeds fan, I obviously am meant to be anti-United, and I certainly don't have a soft spot for them or anything. But I'd say I don't mind as much as others, possibly just because I've found the last however many years just a bit too funny.
Yeah, okay.
So,
who's your one team then, Seb? Your one team that you
that I don't
dislike the most? I won't say hate.
So, I mean, I guess that's a tough one because you've got to define what is a team, right?
Yeah.
The badge, the players, the fans, and every club has, naughty fans. So that's unfair.
And at different times, like maybe, back in the 90s, it was United, but now,
I guess, as a Leeds fan, obviously I've spent so much of my Leeds supporting life out of the Premier League that, the rivalry with United is there, the rivalry with Chelsea and Liverpool is there, but I haven't got to experience that because we haven't played them nearly enough. So it's probably more someone like Millwall or Cardiff, rivalry in the Championship and on the field and off the field. There's just dislike that matchup.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, mine. Do you know what? I went through a phase of really disliking Arsenal because they were the best team, played the best football, and it was the Invincibles. So, and also Chelsea had a terrible record. So yeah, against Arsenal, and then
I
things changed.
Is of disliking some of the bigger teams based on how the fans are reacting. Not any individual fan, but the fans. You often get maybe fans who haven't won so long, then are absolutely brilliant, but possibly become slightly insufferable. Man United doing the opposite. I'm sure Chelsea have had their turn doing that. I bet Leeds fans would like that in the 70s. I know everyone hated us. They still do. Yeah. So I probably rotate between just, which fan base is making the most unjustified noise. So it's not, I don't like what they're saying.
Yeah.
It's when people are saying stuff and it's just like, it's backed up by, no one else.
Yeah.
That's what I don't like, when people are saying things that just no rationality.
Yeah, absolutely fair enough. Nuclear Atoms. Gianni, your mum bought you a United jersey, but you said to her you support Chelsea. Mate, you're exactly right, Nuclear Atoms. That means you were listening to my appearance on the Llama Lounge on Thursday night. And I didn't know you were there. And I knew there wasn't a massive audience. So I was happy saying that. That's usually something I don't tell people. My first shirt was actually that AC Milan one. Not that one. That's a newer version. But it was the 95 Milan shirt because I used to watch Milan 95, and I had number 2 on the back because I wanted to be Christian Panucci, the right back, and I Gianni, my first name, on the back, and then number 2, and I used to play at the back. And then my mum was like, "You need an English team to support," and all the kids in school didn't know who AC Milan were. They was, it was all English teams. So she went and got me the black Sharp ViewCam 95 United shirt, and I was like, "No, mum, I don't want to be a United fan. All my mates support United. I want to support a cool team." And at the time, Chelsea were getting players from Serie A like Rud Hullet and Marcel Desailly. And I knew these players because I'd watched Serie A. So I was like, oh, and also they've got these Italian lads like Zola and Di Matteo and Vialli. So yeah, Chelsea was an easy team for me. But nice. They were rubbish when I first started supporting. Not rubbish, but they weren't, they were top 6.
So my Leeds, I'm a Leeds fan because obviously I'm not from Leeds.
Is your dad, was your dad a Leeds fan, Seb?
Yeah, my dad moved to Leeds when I was little. So a classic story that I'm sure many people have had. You go to your first live game. Mine was Ellen Road against Middlesbrough on Boxing Day in 2001.
Love that.
And you walk out from the concourse into the ground, and you're like, wow, 40,000 people. Most of which wearing the same shirt, chanting the same songs. I was like, yeah, I like this one. I like this one a lot. It helped that it was 2001, and we drew that game 1-1. But obviously, Champions League, we were really good then. So that obviously helped me get into it. Right, we were a team that were winning and had exciting players. Then not so much.
You also had the classic kit, Nike and Strongbow.
Yeah. Oh, that Strongbow kit, the Viduka. That's when you say Leeds, Viduka, Strongbow, the Nike kit. That's what I think of. Yeah. Him the 4-3. He scores all 4 against Liverpool. That's what comes to my mind. But my brother, similar thing with my brother. Take him to a Leeds game, his first live match. It was against Arsenal in the FA Cup.
Yeah.
It was the match where Viduka charges down Lehmann. The ball loops over Lehmann and goes in.
Okay.
We then lost. I think it was 4-1. Thierry Henry, Robert Perez scored goals, which is cool. Saw Henry, when I was younger, saw Henry and Perez take us apart, which was cool in a, way. But now I look back on it, a cool thing. So yeah, the plan was to get my brother into Leeds that way. Well, 15, 20 years later, my brother is now an Arsenal fan. Nothing to do with that match. It's because my granddad is an Arsenal fan. My granddad was born in Islington decades ago, and my brother actually got into football via that route.
Right.
But my brother now gets to turn around and say, yes, I know I don't live in London and I don't have anything to do with Arsenal, but my first live match was Arsenal.
Yeah, that is classic.
Cheeky so-and-so.
That is brilliant. I wasn't going to support them, but yeah, it was. That's great. I love the first match memories. Mine was also a Leeds game, but it was a Chelsea Leeds game, which I think I mentioned.
Nice.
Yeah, it was at Stamford Bridge when Stamford Bridge, one of the stands, the West Stand, was only one tier and didn't have a roof. So it was the West Stand is along the side of the pitch. It's the one, the nicer new one. But single tier. Love that.
When was that?
Must have been 98. Or 99. It was a 1-1 draw.
Nice.
I went one of my first games after that. Maybe it was 99 because in 2000 I went to the FA Cup final, which was the last one at Wembley. Which was we beat Villa 1-0 and Di Matteo scored a tap in. It wasn't when Di Matteo scored from distance. That was Middlesbrough 97.
That's quite a nice. Yeah, you will have seen like Leeds before the David O'Leary Leeds, but still with a young Harry Kewell and so coming through.
McPhail scored, I think.
Yeah. And I guess as well, that was period for Chelsea as well. I think we probably had Hassan then, but would have been just about corner into the the Carlo Cudicini kind of era.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, that Ranieri team, the early noughties, before Roman's money came in, was amazing.
You were on the way anyway.
Semi-final of the Champions League.
Yeah. Obviously the money helped, but you were going that way.
When Porto won the Champions League in 2003, just the season before Abramovich's money. They beat Monaco in the semis, in the final. Sorry, in the semis, it was Chelsea, Monaco, and over 2 legs, Monaco did us. And I think it was Morientes for Monaco, who ironically was on loan from Real Madrid. And in the quarterfinals, Monaco knocked Real Madrid out, and it was Morientes that scored the goals. He played against them and knocked them out the champs. But yeah, we had a good team. Anyway, lovely to reminisce there, Seb, at the end of the game.
The match finished ages ago.
And loads of you, when the final whistle went, I had loads of comments going, good stream, cheers guys, see you later, thank you everyone. So yeah, all good. I hope you've enjoyed that last bit too.
Is it just us left now? There's no one else in here, it's just us talking.
It's the conversation we'd usually have after we've said goodbye. We'll have it and then we'll say goodbye to each other. So now we'll literally just be like, yeah, bye, see ya. Good stuff, guys. Well, you've been watching Scoutcast Match Day, Game Week 30. We'll be back for Game Week 31. And yeah, we'll see you soon. Do give Seb a follow on Twitter. Give me a follow Scout, like and subscribe this video, and we'll let you know when we are back for the next game week. See you later. Brill.